What's up, YouTube fam? It's Dark Angel's Journey, and I'm Shakira, or DJ, depending on how you like. Wow, what is happening? I just ran up here, and all of my trading view windows are just blank. That's annoying. All right, let me see what the heck is happening here. I just ran up here because I went to go get some coffee, some fuel for this backtesting session. And no joke, I was a little slow to get back. Not slow, but so I was parked in front of the driveway, just blocking me out. And I'm like, what the heck, man? I gotta go live in like 2 minutes. So I didn't get a chance to roll up in here and get things moving. I'm gonna probably need to switch my browser out, but it's all good. Let's see if we can't get fresh windows open here and have them load up properly. Like, seriously, what the heck is going on? Hmm. Hey, Rainer, what's happening? Sorry, I'm having technical difficulties. The pages aren't loading. How can I be live on YouTube and not be able to load TradingView? Isn't that crazy? Like, what's up with that? So, I'm trying to also load up my Thinkorswim. So I was thinking it might be fun. I was testing out the on-demand feature, and I'd asked for them to fix what I'd asked that for them to fix the issue where you couldn't put in trades on their on-demand feature with the micros. And so we might end up just using Thinkorswim today to do all of this back testing. That'd be fun. We'll just go through April one day at a time and just blow through it all. I'm excited about that. Because I'll be starting to look at trading live this in February here this coming week. So I'll be logged in, and if there's something juicy, I'll be taking it. Did that actually load? Oh, jeez. What the heck, man? That's annoying as heck. So we'll do a few, let's see here. All right. Okay. Where are we? That's January. So we're doing hindsight backtesting for April 2025. I've gone through January, February, and March, so it's time to move on to April. And so let's get started. I apologize for the weirdness. I don't know what was up. It was not trying to load. I was very offended by that fact, to be clear. Anyway, how was the Sunday? How are you guys doing? It's Sunday. I was watching old school Doctor Who season 20, episode 21 last night, and I was like, all right, I'm just gonna my last episode, I'm gonna go to bed. And then the dang episode wouldn't stop. And I was like, oh my God, how long is this episode? And then I looked it up properly, and it was like, yeah, it's gonna be an hour and a half, like a proper season finale. I don't think I've ever seen that in Doctor Who. All right. So let's take a quick review of what we're looking to do here now that Thinkorswim has popped up. So we're gonna back up a whole bunch. Um, let's see, April. April, April, April. Okay, so let's get our replay back on. And let's clear out the stuff that I was using for. Where's my cleanup? For that. Also, Bob like totally hooked his sister up the with the tool on here. I'm like super excited because now I can tell when how many contracts micro-wise based on where my stop is I'd need to use. It's awesome. Wolfie. I mean, yes. I mean, April Fools is where it's at on the first, but I don't think. Oh, it is the first. So March 31st was the Monday, the April 1st was the Tuesday, and dang it, I should have waited so I could ask you guys what the direction was going to be for this one. So we'll do it for the next one, all right? All right, so what do we have? So the 31st took out everything. As always, we're going to be looking to see where they could dig up into. We're going to check we're going to be checking for the bias, daily, and session, just to make sure we can catch every little potential opportunity. I have a journaling tool off the camera here that I'll be using so if you see me just like randomly looking at something and typing, it's because I'm using the journaling tool to grab the screenshots and plop them in there. All right. So, and I also have the Thinkorswim app that we could also use for this as well. Probably should use that actually. I am trying to decide. We'll do that for a few of them just for funsies so we can actually put the orders in and see how it looks. But look at so I have the Thinkorswim app on April 1st already. So let's look at Trading View for the moment just to get the lay of the land. So the day before on the 4 hour, it's been very, very bearish. We swept a lot of major lows on April 1st. And then the day before, we just sort of started pushing up. Like this is the 31st. So we're just pushing up on the 31st. So it was, on the 4, it was sort of looking like bullish, but with a little bit of like sideways chop before London. Let's look at the 1 hour as well. So like it's been a slow grind up. So I guess we would if I'm being honest, based on the big dip, I would be very bearish. Does it say Wolfie on my t-shirt? It's true. It says Luffy. Luffy from One Piece. Don't play games. Wolfie. And even if it did say Wolfie on my t-shirt, so what? Wolfies are cool. Also, since we've been dealing with Bob's setup too, we'll deal with that and take a look at his setup along with mine as we work through these. So in reference to Bob, let's look at the first 15-minute candle, high and low. Hey. Hey girl, hey. Wolfie trying to take over my Luffy shirt. All right, so Bob's setup is simple. Like he takes the first 15-minute candle high and low, and then he checks out the breakout from either side, and then he takes the setup. So let's drop to the 5-minute for Bob's setup real quick and see what would have worked out for him. So that's the first 15-minute area here. I wonder if he would have taken this one, this like push out here. And let's look at the 2-minute for him for the bottom. I guess if he joins, if he joins, then he'll be able to tell us if this would have been a trade he would have taken, because it did drop out of it. So normally he would do something like that. The stop, I think, would be that I don't know where that stop would be. There's no proper setup there. and then he'd be looking for a 1 to 2, which obviously wouldn't have worked on this particular day. But in the opposite direction, though, if he waited for this push out on the long, I think he would have, this is the retest, so then he would have taken this. Oh yeah, he wouldn't have taken this bottom one because it rolled out, retested, but never gave him that big engulfing candle he was looking for. So his setup would start there. His stop would be under this low, if I'm not mistaken, and then he'd be looking at a 1 to 2, which would have paid the man like gangbusters there. I think he would have had like 5 micros on that puppy. So yay for Bob. This setup is actually pretty easy to follow too. I think Wolfie, tell me if I'm wrong. It's a 5 minute orb, right? The 15-minute orb, but taking the entry on the 5 or 2 minute for Bobby. So that would have worked out nicely for him. This one never actually gave. It broke out, did the retest, but never gave him an engulfing candle to enter from. So I take that one back. Take that one back. But so that was Bob's setup. Very nice. I'm gonna roll up to my scenario here. So things I love. 15 to 2 CPR. Yes, exactly. Thank you very much, Wolfie. Thank you very much. All right, let's see if I could have gotten a setup from my stuff. Okay. So we would have opened. I'd have been relatively bearish if I'm being honest, but we didn't. London highs were here. They just decided instead to sweep the lows. So then we would be looking for some sort of shift up. So this, for me, this would have been like the 5 minute like shift in structure right there. So for me, so market structure shift or change in state of delivery, whatever the heck people want to call it, on the 5 minutes. And I'm going to drop down to the 2 minute because there's nothing else to do. Also, we could also consider a shift in structure that occurred on the lower time frame as well as a potential entry area. Other things to note is, where the heck are we going to take profit? You know what I'm saying? Where the heck are we going to take profit? I kind of really dig Bob's method. It's really simple. It's easy to follow. And you just, if you stick with the specific stop at the lows and then two why words hard? Oh my God, what's wrong with me? The 1 to 2 TP scenario, you'd be doing good. Let's see. For mine, this would have been the first shift. A second one would have occurred here. With this order block, I would have to potentially consider this sort of entry here. I wouldn't. 49 ticks, that's like a 1 micro trade. But I'm finding 1 micro trades do actually like pay if you can get in on it. That's the 2 minutes. So then I would put my entry at the top of the fair value gap, because I've noticed they like to either tap it and run, or they dig into the order block if it's possible for them. So based on where my stop needs to be, I would have a 1 micro trade here. And let's go up to the 1 hour to see where we would even be like reaching for. So let's note we have a 1 hour fair value gap here, bearish, that I would be most interested in just tapping the base of if I had to reach for anything approximately. So that would be, I would tap the bottom. Why? Because they do like to tap a fair value gap and then reject from it, I've found, as we see here. Just notice that. So if there's a nice, like, especially in this very, very bearish market that was April 2025, so that would be the setup that I would have considered taking. And the reason why I would dip down to the 2 minute is because, as you can see on the 5 minute, we really, really, really didn't get any follow through down close candles in this whole space. And if we're looking for, let's say that's our target up here and that's the base, we would have been hoping for an entry somewhere close to the halfway point of, well, actually, hold on. So there's like quadrants. Let me see. 0, 33, 0, 68, and 1, right? Like something like that. So 0, let's do 0, 63, and what's the other one? 0.78, I don't know, 718 or something like that. And I'm just trying to get the thirds. Oh, you know what? I'm being silly. 0.33 and 0.63 or something like that, right? And then we need just the one. So I'm just looking for 3 quadrants. Did that get me 3 quadrants? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, perfect. So then, for high probability, like if you know that this is where you want to go to get, your TP or whatever, like you can spec out where the range is and make sure that you get your entry somewhere in the first or the second, but not the third, because the probability and the return at that point becomes less likely. Also, I got me a frap, y'all. I know Bob's in. If Bob's in here, he's gonna be like, "Oh my god!" Mm. Oh, that's a lot of caramel. I love it. Life is like a box of chocolates, y'all. Okay, so that's why I'm like trying to make sure I get an entry in the 0.33 quadrant, so I can get a better return from that. Let's delete that. So if we were potentially to consider like a 2-minute shift, so we have this down close candle, which is higher than this one. So I would think the first shift would have been down here when it popped up here. And then the second shift in structure would have occurred right here. And then in that scenario, I would have attempted an entry depending on what the stop looked like. This one's too far away from the order block here. So I might have popped down to like the midpoint or even just the top of it, because I need to be able to cover, or just the body actually, to cover the whole order block and the bottom there. And then I would be looking for that. But as we can see, they never came back down, so that wouldn't have been the entry we would have gotten. But it would have been one I would have considered. But I prefer this entry because it does cover the whole 5-minute shift. And then we got a secondary shift here with this nice bullish push up. I also like that they did not come back down into the Fair Valley Gap here. Also a very, very bullish view. And then they ran up and tapped into that. So it would have been a nice move. It would have been a nice move. I think, I don't even know. How much would that have been? It would have been a nice move. So let's like document that. And let's also note all the reasons why we took this trade. Mainly because also this happened after you would have been tagged in at like 10:56, just barely inside of the barely inside of the schedule. So what do we have? So this is technically against the daily bias because we're still very bearish in this situation. Let's go to the daily here on this day, April 1st. So we swept the lows. The probability of them reversing at this point is actually very, very high. But, we attempted to push up, dropped very aggressively, took the lows out. So I'm still very, very bearish. But I also have to take into account the session bias itself. So with the strong move up, the only real potential in the AM session was a long. So what do we have? We had... we swapped the lows for the session. We had session power of 3. We had a 5-minute shift for sure. The 4-hour, the 1-hour, and the 50-minute were bullish, which is nice. We had a very clean market shift. And then we had a fair value and order block that was there to help us through. So let's review that. So we had Overall daily bearish in my mind. The 4 hour though had turned bullish there. The 1 hour had also turned bullish. The 15 minute also bullish, just slow grind up. I feel bad for London. I keep saying it over and over again. Like, I feel bad for London folks, because I feel like they just don't get a good what's what I'm looking for. They don't get a good rap. You know what I mean? Like, they don't get a good rap. So for one micro, and the 5 minute was also, the 5 minute was sideways. The 5 minute was not on board with the bullish vibe, but the session 5 minute was very bullish. And after sweeping these lows, a nice juicy shift. I mean, I don't see why they wouldn't want to move up. But let's be clear. If you were looking for shorts, it was like, why, Wolfie, why? But hey, if you were looking for shorts though, and you were willing to wait, once they tapped the higher time frame PD array here, this 1 hour bearish fair value gap, and they dropped aggressively. Now all you'd have to do is, I'm gonna clone this thing. All you'd have to do is wait for the shift. So this is the only up close candle. This one is interrupted. So for me, the shift is here, the first one. Then I would need a secondary shift for an entry short, which would have occurred here. And then somewhere in the middle of all of this, you'd have to figure out, and let's drop to the 2 minutes just to see if we could have gotten some sort of short, a decent short entry, or maybe even a better setup. Yeah, so that's the first shift. The next shift on the 5 minute was here. From my setup, really don't have like a ton we could work with here, because everything in here is suspect until it actually drops below here. And then the only real setup short opportunity, at least for me, is at the body here with a stop above here. And then I would, if I'm super bearish, I'd be aiming for, if we just a fair value gap down here, just to keep it simple, because we've moved a bunch. I don't necessarily know if they're going to come all the way back down, but it's best to just like hook yourself up. And in this scenario, you could use 6 micros because the stop is only 15, and that would have been a nice return at a 76.5 point thing. That would be juicy, I think. But that's where I would have taken it. And that would have, let me see, would we have even gotten tagged in on this puppy? Whoops, put that there. No fair value gap. Stop above this fair value gap. And I like to tap the top of fair value gaps for entries, or the midpoint technically, whichever one is more likely to get tapped. For this scenario, we would not have gotten tagged in if I said it at the body. I just don't like these giant wicks. I really don't. So I would have been okay to have this miss me. I don't like it. Plus, I would have preferred if they'd given us something juicier. I guess more advanced traders might have felt comfortable like taking the short from here after we rejected down, maybe even after this bullish fair value gap got rejected, and then maybe take it at this guy right here, and then maybe have your stop up here. But that's a big stop. So that would have been like a 2 micro trade if you're trying to reach for that. I mean, that would have been a good return. You'd had to sit through a bunch of bullshit though. So anyway, I think this is a better setup for me. So I would have been tagged in at 10:56, which is essentially just 11 o'clock approximately. And some things that I'm trying to get past too, like this year, is, being afraid to take the trade at the top of the hour or the half an hour or so. Yes, there are movements. There's movement at that time, and I might get tagged out, but if the setup shows itself, then I need to use it. So this would be a 1 micro trade. with a stop at 47.35. I would have to, you know, only take a micro on that button. Anyway, so let's get cleaned up and head off to the next day. I mean, it's not bad. It's not a bad setup. Um, so one micro trade would still pay. Um, oh, also, like Bob showed me something with the long position thing. So you can switch this to USD and then put whatever risk you want in here. And then when you adjust it, it'll tell you the quantity of of contracts you can use to keep that risk. I love that. Like, Wolfie made his own calculator, which I think is awesome. This is the wolf position size. So cool. Also, I love that you can put in your information, and I'll be using both. Um, so, I mean, just for funsies, we could actually use it to see what we would have made on this one. So, 47.75 stop loss, 47.75 stop loss, and the TP would have been 159 approximately. Let's see. 159 points. So, hey, for one contract, about 5.99 on a single micro, that's actually pretty incredible. So, I'm gonna stop knocking the micros, man. Micros are where it's at. Especially for my thought, for my mental health. All right, guys, let's move on to another day. What do you guys think? Drop it in the chat. Are we still bearish or bullish? We're digging into this bearish fair value gap. We dug up into this order block here, and then we dropped aggressively. I'm still gonna be bearish. Wolfie, what's your plan? Oh shit! Did I not shrink my face? Guys, guys, why didn't you tell me this earlier? I did that that whole review, and y'all didn't even see none of it. None of it. Oh my God. Because I like minimized my OBS. So I completely didn't even notice what I was doing. Oh God, you guys, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Let me show you that setup again. Oh no. Fail. That is a complete and total fail. Ugh. I'm so sorry. I'm over here talking and man, say something next time. I can't believe I did that. Oh, fail. Oh. I think that's the first time I've done that because I was just so excited to get into it. All right, so let's do this. Let's do like the preparation here, and then let's go into Thinkorswim on the man on the day, and then take the trade we think will be. And actually, let's do the next one on Thinkorswim, and then we'll put the order in and get excited. But first, what do we think? Are we bullish or bearish for the next day? I'm going to say bearish because I'm still, bearish, even though the last couple of trades for this would have been bullish. Just drop it in the chat. Because we all out here learning, man. We all out here learning. So this will be for April 2nd, 2025. Don't cheat. Don't cheat. So we'll do like the we'll do the high level review over here and then switch over to Thinkorswim to see. Oops, hold on. I didn't so I think bearish. So I'm gonna say bearish. Ooh, we would have gotten both. Okay, Wolfie's like, ooh, we switching from bearish, huh, Wolfie? We got a little bit of both on this next day. All right. Got a little bit of both. All right. And then, so the 4 hour on this day, whoa, that PM would have been rough. The 4 hour is still bullish. A slow grind up into this bearish fair value gap. All right, so let's note that. And Wolfie's like, we going up. And I'm like, I'm still bearish, but we got both. So then on the 1 hour, I wonder, this looks like end of day news. Um, like some stock thing came in and just smacked you in the face. Oh, look at that. London was just like a slow grind down. This is weird. I don't like this. This 1 hour doesn't feel very much of anything. Like we're just sort of in a holding pattern. And then the 15 minute, the 15 minute was a slow grind down. Did it? And then I think it took out Asia lows. Did it take out the PM lows as well? The Tuesday lows, yes. So pre-market takedown. Pre-market takedown. All right, well, since that's the case, let's nip over to Sink or Swim real quick and see if we could potentially take. Oh, did it already switch over window-wise? Nice. Good. All right, so we're going to switch to April 2nd, 2025. We're going to about 9:45 go. And trying to figure out why the data is not. Oh, hold on. Sorry. Hold on. I need to get the that would have been. I need to get the correct code for that month. Hold on. April 25 MNQ contract code. Which one was that? I know H is, I think it's Z. Like, so it's 25, change that. Let me get the contract month codes real quick, my bad. So April is J, actually. So let's switch that to J. I was like, why is it empty? MNQJ25. They can't find the signal. Hold on. March is April. Oh, that's not the right code. H. It's M. April, May, June. M. Sorry, guys. I don't use these very often. All right, cool. So let's get ready to rumble. Come on. There we go. All right. So let's see what we had. This is April 2nd, 9:46, because I'd be waiting the first 15 minutes anyway. Let's dip up to the 1 hour and see what our targets are for this and see if we had any opportunity to get in here. This is moving slow. Come on demand. All right. So things I would normally be doing, I would be specking out that 1 hour fair value gap there. And let's put that. I'm glad that I'm just sharing the screen so then I can just pull up each window easily enough. And then, so there's that. And then they took out the London lows here. We have this. Areas of interest for me would be this guy for, taking some profits if I can that high, digging into this thing. Let's make it a little lighter, right? Okay, so let's nip over to the 5 minute and see what we can do. All right, so this is the 5 minute. So we had the sweep prior, and we have this thing that we can dig up into. So I would be hoping they would do, so we've already done a run-up. I want to see if they give us any opportunities to get in for a long. London highs are still on. London highs are here. Asia highs are up here. So could get a little something, something. So we're going to speed this up so we don't have to like wait too long. So it's like 3x speed on that. If they leave this open and then give me a down close candle and then bust above here, then I'll be more than happy to jump in on a long. We can also note other previous day highs as well. Or is this one of those days they just ran up and didn't give nobody no chance to get in on no action? All right, let's dig into a 2-minute here. This will be a little slower, I think, but I won't do it for all of them, but just to like have some fun with it. Okay, so we did run up. This is at 9:42. So for this, I would have to look at, let me move my other window to a different screen so I can calculate how many contracts I would need for this. So we are at 9:52. I would need a return back. If they just ran up and give us nothing, I'm gonna be real pissed. Also, we gotta check for Bob's 15-minute setup too. So I would like them to, at minimum, form a 5-minute order block of some sort. Okay. And then I'd like to maybe dig into like the midpoint of this or something like that. I don't know. So let's let that 5-minute close out. There's like 3 more seconds on that 5-minute candle. No fair value gap here. This one down here. If we bust above here, then the probability that I could potentially take something up here. Actually, let me not look at this other chart because it'll like make me cheat, right? It'll feel like cheating a little bit. So this is the 5-minute. So what I want to see is, I would prefer if they dug a little bit into the fair value gaps below. And let's dip into the 2-minute because maybe we can get something. So I'd love to see them dig into the fair value gap below. This one I like here. They tapped into it and ran up. So I don't know if I really expect them to dip back into this one, but a continuation up makes a lot of sense. So for this kind of setup, let's see what the stop would look like. So if I could try like a 2 micro. That would have been 135 point stop. Let's try the 70. Let's see what that stop looks like. Aw, it won't let me put it in. It gave me a message saying it won't let me. Rude. It let me do it for January. And maybe that's the only time it lets me do it for. Huh. Something to test. That's interesting. Let me try that again. So if I do buy 3 micros, sorry, the system did not accept your order instrument, isn't trading, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so it looks like it will only let me do it because I wanted an entry right here. Let's just drop a drop a line right here. So I want an entry right here with a stop right below here. That's what I wanted, which they didn't let me do. So I would have been tagged in just now. Let's just put entry here. And then since they won't let me use this for the older data, I'm not going to bother. I'm not going to bother with using Thinkorswim for this moving forward, because unless you guys want to see like a January day or something that we could play with. All right, so from my entry, my TP that I'm interested in will be like the midpoint of this thing. Like that's what I'm looking for. Like TP is about the midpoint of this thing. Actually, let me just me duplicate this and then modify it here. So the TP, I'm just estimating based off of my normal trading. Like I would love, something like that for TP right there, midpoint. Okay, let's speed this up and see if we get stopped out or if we get what we want. And then we'll switch back to the Thinkorswim. So we'll push time forward by 5 minutes just to move this along. Let's make it 10:10. Can't believe I did that with my screen. Oh, my face. Okay, so we would have seen a nice little push up, but then here they come from a stop. Okay. So that's the 10:11. Let's see, they this time decided to come and dig into the order block. I don't even know what size that stop is, honestly. So we'll have to double check on Thinkorswim after this little like experiment of ours. All right, let's push this forward to 10:15 just to see where we are. Because we're not going to use it because it only lets me like test the newer contracts, it looks like. All right, so not a bad reaction at the order block there. They came up and swept these out and tapped into this fair value gap. We're still in the midpoint of it with the bodies above the midpoint, which is really good. So I'd still feel really good about this trade. And my stop is safe under here. So let's push this forward another 5 minutes and see if we get anywhere close to our TP. Okay, so we're pushing up a bit. So I need to see some like, so we're sort of forward testing this. It's just kind of nice. It's sort of forward testing it. I just don't know how many contracts this would be because I don't want to cheat and look at the trading view window. All right. Let's move it to 10:25. Oops, 25. Let's just push time forward and see if what we're working with. It's looking good. So what's going to happen is once we crest this high, I'm going to reduce my stop to here. Let's push another 5 minutes. I don't like how it's taking its time to do it though. Not sexy. I got so excited that I could use this, because because I did the test on the January data and it worked really good. So maybe before I kick this to the curve, we can do a day in January. Give me any day in January 2026 that you guys want to see this, and I'll do that day next, and then we'll go back to the old April data. This is looking really good. My only concern with this trade is that we're so close to this thing. I'm hoping they want to bust through. Let's push this forward another. Let's push it to 10:40. Okay, let's give it a little bit more speed run. Okay, so we did take that up. So took it shallowly. I don't really like it, but I'm gonna reduce my stop to just under here now. Because they did sweep it, even if they didn't sweep it like super aggressively. So now that they've done that, if they bust above here with some alacrity, I'll put my stop right here. Let's push time forward another 5 minutes. Yeah. Trying to do 5 minute increments here. All right, so we are hanging out at the top of this bullish fair value gap. So we're just going sideways, and I'm not a fan of sideways action. What to do, what to do, what to do. Still no point in moving my stop yet, so let's push this forward another 5 minutes. So 10:50. We'd be sitting in this trade for quite a while. Seriously? Wow, it was we would have just been sitting in this crap for a while. I don't know. I feel like maybe I wouldn't want to. I'm trying my best not to move the stop. I'm feeling like I want to, but let's push it forward another to 10:55. I'm like itching to move my stop to cover fees. I'm like itching because I don't like that we haven't tried to move up, but I do like that we're sitting at the top of this um fair value gap. So maybe it's okay to move it to under here or at least under that one. I don't know. Let's push this forward. Let's step it. Let's see what that step forward does. That pushes it all the way to 1107. Okay, so by 11, we've pushed up a bit. I am now interested in moving my stop right here. If we bust above here, then I can move it here. At this point, whatever fees I need are covered, so. But again, I had that concern about the base of this 1 hour fair value gap. So if they can dig into it, then we might be okay. Let's step forward some more time. Without being able to actually put the order in, this is kind of annoying. Oof. It's Juice the Kid. What's up? Happy Sunday. Yeah, so the behavior here I don't like, but this fair value gap is holding up. This is the closest low once they actually put a body above here. So that's where my stop's here to, you know, hook a sister up. And if we can just break into this, we can break into this and I'll move my stops under here. I mean, at this point, my entry's here. We've locked in some stuff. Nice, strong move up. So I'm moving my stop to under here. For that entry, don't even know what that even looks like for TP, but I'm hoping we can get to the midpoint of this fair value gap. If we bust above here, so we have an order block here, the low, fair value gap. So hopefully they want to just keep moving. It's what time? 11:22. So I'm hoping the 11:30, 11:45 to lunchtime will want to push up. So something I wouldn't have been able to take this type of trade with minis last year. There's like literally no way because I would just be too terrified because I'd put my entry here, which would have in this case tapped me in, but this is because they just want to have a slow grind up, just slow. So now I'm looking for some kind of, pullback, make another low so I can move my stop there and then, push up. So let's see. At this point, this is like a win. Either I take a little bit based on where my stop is, or I take my full pull based on where my TP is, which should be approximately about halfway through the fair value gap. Stretch on. It's looking good. So something that I'm also fighting with, like once we get really close to my TP, I don't feel like I'd want to move my stop to cover, like if it's about to tap it, that candle that's about to tap it, like I want to like move it right under there because at that point I've gotten the lion's share of my setup. And what do they say? Don't be a dick for a tick or whatever. That. So this is a 2-minute candle. So it's looking good. This is a lot of stuff on the table. So I'm warring with myself. Like if this candle looks like it's expanding up towards this area here, and then on the 5 minute, right, I might, for the next 5 minute candle, I might put my stop right under that and then lock in more. Cause look at what they do, right? Like they, they don't want to like tap things immediately. They always have to come back, retrace a little bit and then run up. So I'm hoping that this is a nice little retracement, tap into a fair value gap. I'm We've got one here, a tiny one here, these two big ones. I don't really expect them to come all the way back down here, but hey, it's NQ. They'll do whatever the hell they want, for real. So I'm hoping this forms a low and this pushes up and then I can move my stop here. And let's lock in more. And let's see. I'm gonna let this play out since we're so close to TP, and then we'll move back to trading view for more a more mechanical back testing of April 2025. I just got so excited because I thought, since I could do the January and put the order in, it would let me, but it looks like it only works with the actual active contract. If the contract's no longer active, you can't use it. You can't use this to set the order. So that's why I'm using the lines to note where I would have set my entry. And I would have to sit through, I would have had a nice run up and then sit through some drawdown here and then very slow grind up, very slow grind up. Now, if this starts hesitating, I'm just going to move my stop to just under this candle here just to lock in some more and I'd be happy with that. I don't even know what the expected TP for this is. I have no idea. Let's remove the active trader. We don't need that. But if this is the low we just created and this pushes up, come on, you can do it. You can do it. So now I'm hoping we create a low here. And if we don't though, and we do a retracement, like I really do want to like the base of this, and I'll move my stop to the base right there, lock in a little more. It's a terrible spot though, because the order block's here and the fair value gap, but I'm not really expecting them. I'm not really expecting them to come all the way back down to that order block, but I could be wrong. But it's so close to my take profit that I'm just, like you spend a lot of time waiting for trades to play out, and then, then you don't let the trade play out and you get antsy and you want to move your stop and do all this stuff. So on this, if this candle busts above here, I'm going to move it down here and I don't care anymore. I'm good. It's close. It's close to my TP. It'd still be a winning trade. That's just the nature of it. But I don't like this. I don't like that they're spending so much time, but I do like that they're respecting this fair value gap. So in the interest of just locking stuff in, I'm going to move it to just below this the candle that formed this fair value gap. Technically, I should move it to below this one because there's 3 candles. This one helped to form these 2 are the ones that are helping to form the fair value gap. And I need this to push up. Go, 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 go. You can do it. So if I get stopped out here, that's okay. That's a pretty decent move for my entry to here. Probably is more than 1 to 2 for all I know. But I also don't want to like lock myself out of, my full TP, but I will take this. This is not bad. I'm hoping that the fact that they're sitting at the top of this fair value gap and they don't want to move up. What time is it? 11:40? Just buying time. Just give me one little wick and we done. Wick, 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 wick. All right, this is taking too long. Let's move it forward like to 11:45. Let's see what my fate is on this particular trade. But the setups are working really great. So yeah. So looks like I would be stopped out for this. And there it is. That would have been the end of it. I would have been stopped out for whatever that is. All right, let's snip over to trading view to see what that actually looks like for the day, because I don't know really. It's April. Okay, let's snip over to trading view and see what we would really be working with. So this is the 5-minute, and we went to take a trade on the 2-minute, right? On the 2-minute. So the original long position was right here at the body, and the stop was below here, and we were looking for the midpoint of that fair value gap, which was just about there. So what does that tell you? They came right back to the order block. This is why I shouldn't have moved my stop. It came back to the order block and then they ran up. This is why, like, you work with structure. You don't just put your order block any old place, right? But that would have been a big move, like, based off of what I just did. And that would have been, based off of where the stop is, that would have been 1 micro trade. Based off of the stop I had to use for that. So this would be a 1 micro trade at 122. So it'd be 100, let's see, that's 122, 54.50 stop. Jesus, it's ridiculous. So 122, 54.50 stop. I mean, it's still $400 on a micro, you know? It's not bad on 1 micro anyway. It can still pay. So, you know, but if I hadn't moved my stop, and I think my TP was just above here or something like that, on 1 micro, that's what, 250 on the TP range, 200.5. I've been 662 on 1 micro. That's not bad. Okay, but that is definitely the setup. Now, if I had chosen to do the body of the order block instead of the wick, given how far it was, then I could have done 3 micros, or if I did the midpoint and then low there, I could have done 2 micros, and then that would have paid a little more. It's all subjective though. Like, in the moment, I wanted to make sure I got tagged in here, so which I did, and then, you know, stop. But the trade management was spot on until I moved my stop from here, because that's the structure, right? Like, that's the structure. So wait for the pullback and then wait for them to pull up, and then I should just move my stop here. And then, you know, but $400 on 1 micro is still pretty great. Because I was really salty. It was so close to TP, like, they could have just pushed up. Should have just put it under here and called it a day. I've just been like, I don't care. About 154, that still would be nice. 154.25 on 1 micro. Still an extra $100. Yeah. Anyway, so moving along. Just take some screenshots here for my notes. So I'm looking to maybe take my entries on the 2 minute moving forward because it just feels a lot more, what's the word I'm looking for? It just feels a lot more clear. The 1 minute can be really messy sometimes. All right, so my entry would have been at about 9:54, so about 10 a.m. Entry model number 2, because as always, I'm looking for a sweep of some kind. Shift, 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 go. With my entry being on the second leg. So when I say entry model number 2, that's all I mean. And then the risk on this one would have been 1 micro at about 55 points. Well, the return, based on the way I just traded it, would be 117.25. So two at 2.13, not bad. And the stop was 55, so 1 micro. And that's about 9:45, 10 o'clock time frame entry. I actually like those entries. It's good. It's a good entry time. All right, so let's take a quick gander at. So I was bearish, but I went against my daily bias and we took longs. They did sweep the lows. There was a clean market shift. We had a fair value gap order block. The 4 hour, the 1 hour were bullish. It was a 5 minute shift. It was very, very, very bullish, which is why I was interested in this trade in the first blasted place. Haha. So I'm just gonna make a note. This is like a 1 micro trade that would have netted around, let's say, the 400, based off of how you saw me trade it in Thinkorswim. All right, so moving on. Next day, what do you guys think? Are we feeling bearish or bullish on this next day? Drop it in the chat. What you got? What you thinking? We bearish? We bullish? I am still with the sweep. We've had 3 candles and we're still inside of this bearish fair value gap. I'm still bearish, but I've literally been proven wrong the last 3 days and I've taken longs the entire time. Inside bar? All right, Wolfie, inside bar. So this is April 3rd. It's a Thursday, 2025. Anybody else have any ideas? Inside bar? These up close candles have been very weak, like very weak. All right, so Wolfie says inside, I say bearish. Oh, what? That's a gap opening, y'all. I was still very bearish, but I was not expecting a gap opening. What? That was not expected at all. What is this? Let me get some screenshots. So we had a big gap opening. Big gap opening. So this, yeah, ouch indeed, man. Like, I assume there must have been some weird news or something that prompted this fully bearish day. So, the 4 hour, the 1 hour, all very bearish, very gapped up. They did, in London, they did dig into the 1 hour gap though, so that's nice. And on the, yeah, so everybody bearish. Sometimes when they're like excessively bearish, oh, let's check Bob's first 15-minute candle situation. So they never even broke above the top part. So let's just mark out the bottom. So that's the only place he could have gotten a trade in that scenario. All right, so that's the low of the 15-minute. And they broke out here. So let's see if the breakout and retest on the 2-minute would have worked out for Bob. Let's see. So we broke out. There's no big engulfing candle. It would have been a short for him. So this is the retest, the push out. I don't know, would he have taken it here? With a stop up here? Dang, that's a big ass stop. And a 1 to 2. Ooh, he'd have just made it if that's the correct entry. He's gonna have to like confirm these for me though. But it would have paid the trader though. That's a big stop. Even for me, I can't even do that on 1 micro. That's too much. Anyway, so let's go back up to the 5 minutes. And let me grab a screenshotty here. All right, so for me, I like this. So we pushed up, we swept this high out. It's not the London high per se, but it is a consolidation sort of, and a high that took out a small bit of consolidation. So we had some manipulation here. So then I would need, this is a whole order block, Jesus, on the 5 minutes. So I'm probably trying to look at, so from a 5 minute perspective, this is the market structure shift right here. So let's plop that in there. And then once that happened, we had a secondary shift right under here. So an entry this way would have been potentially a thing. We would have been short biased this whole time. So maybe there's something better on the 2 minute that might give us a clear or an easier entry setup. Okay, yeah. So we had the sweep here, nice. And then we had these 2 up close candles on the 2 minute. So that would have been the 2 minute shift. And then I would need a secondary shift. So if we clone this, that's this one here. So once they busted below here, then I'd be looking for some sort of entry at the order block. Or the fair value gap, whichever one existed on the 2 minute. This is very messy because there isn't one. What there is, however, is a bullish fair value gap to the left of all of this yumminess here. That, did I say yumminess? It's okay, you guys love it. My weird, quirky behavior. So on the 2 minute, we'd had a first shift. So it's not this big guy on the 2 minute because this actually took that out. So these 2 are now the order block. We had a shift below that here with these guys. Tap back up into the order block and then another shift down here. There's a fair value gap in here as well to take into consideration for an entry. But we have these 2 order blocks here. So I would have to take it at the body of this, the bottom one. And other things to consider is where to put the stop. Like a normal person would put it here. That's too big of a stop. I can't, for 1 micro, at least I need about 45 ticks of a stop, like something like that. And then let's dip to the 1 hour and let's see what we would be targeting. Like what would we be reaching for? And sometimes you gotta like really move to the left to see what's there. Let's go to the 4 hour. Okay, so on the 4 hour, let's dig over here. Shit. So we had this fair value gap that everybody's was respected and it moved price up. So I would like reach for the top of that puppy potentially. And then there's the base of that. Technically there's equal lows down here. So we could specify that for like some sell side. Then of course we had the full Monty down here. But this is the top of bearish FEG. And I love to target those. I love to target those. So let's snip back over here. And they did absolutely blow through that. So let's roll down. And so if that's my target, let's see. So that's all I'm looking for. I'm not looking for anything crazy. It's quite a bit though. So on one, so this would mean so close to 2 micros, so close. I would have I would have not minded this stop too much because we had the fair value gap here in between. We have the propulsion block. I got most of it in there, and bits of this order block, but it's not great. Like, if I had more capital, the stop would have to be above here, but that's way too much. So if I set the stop at, actually, the stop can be below this market structure shifts because I don't really expect them to dig back in, especially when they spend so much time digging into it here. So then, if that's the case, I'd want to at least encompass more of the order block up there. So it looks like if I did like the body of the order block and don't worry about that wick, then I could have done 2 micros. So with 2 micros at the body of this order block right here, looks like I would have been, hold on, the body's right there. So this first hit would not have tagged me in. The second one, however, would have tagged me in here. And that's at 10:26 is when I would have gotten tagged in. So then almost no drawdown on that particular entry. And then it's 1 to 6. Oof, that's a lot. In true fashion, I would be managing the stops like so. So stop loss. So once we dropped here and then dropped below here, I would move my stop. I would lessen my original movement of stop would come to here. So that reduce my stop to begin with. Then once we busted below here, made this high and then dropped again, then I'd move my stop here. And then similar scenario here, I would adjust as they made the structures. And then I would have enjoyed the rest of that. And it would have taken maybe half an hour, approximately. That's not bad. Dang. That's ouch indeed, man. Let's see what that would have netted on 2 micros. Stops 37 points. Target 227.25. So a 37-point stop, 22. What's that? 227.25. 25. Hey, that'd be a grand 1100 on 2 micros. That's pretty impressive for 2 micros, I gotta say. Impressive. Whew. Nice. Let's pretend it was just the 1 micro. That's still not. Oh, that's still. Oh, 45 would have still been 2 contracts. Ooh, 900. Actually, no, that's more accurate because the other one had like point something something something. So yeah, so it would only be 900. But hey, that's pretty impressive. So if I did more, like 55, then that'd be 1 contract. Like, where? Let me see. What do I have to do to get it to exactly 1? That's just 70. Not quite. 80. Close, but no cigar. Even closer. What? Let's say 90. There we go. So a 90-point stop to keep my risk at 180 would net 454. I mean, that's still pretty good on a micro. I'm not mad at that. So that's pretty good. All right, let's document this puppy. So the 2-minute would have been the better setup for structure in this scenario. What do you guys think? All right, so what do we have? Okay, so it would have been entry model number 2 again, and a 2-minute entry area. The reward on this would have been 6. Now, in reality, would we hold for that long? Given the way I set up my stop, let's set that to 45. Given the way I set up my stop, I would absolutely, and this entry would have occurred at 10:26, so about approximately 10:30. I would just move my stop and just hope for the best. For real, just move my stop and hope for the best. Criteria though, We had a big gap opening, so everything was bearish. 4 hour, 1 hour, 15. We did have a 5 minute shift, even if it's not quite what we wanted. We had a fair value gap and order block attached to that. And we did kind of sweep the high. And it was, I wouldn't necessarily call this a clean market shift though, so I'm not gonna do that. So I'll just make a note that the 2 minute market shifts were better for entry here. So on days when they're just running away from us, might need to look at the lower time frames for that. All right, let's dip up to the next day. We had this big gap down. So what do you think? Are we still bearish? We got these lows to contend with. So I'm gonna note that low for some sell side. I'm bearish as hell now. So what do you think, Wolfie? We bearish still? So there's that one. And then I'm gonna also note the extreme of this candle, the base of this daily candle as well, as a potential. Did they already take this out? Ooh, they haven't taken that low out either. So just looking for targets, y'all. You're a bear? Okay, we bearing. All right, let's see. Oh, dang, they blew through everything. Never mind. That's awesome. They blew through everything. So, given that they did, I bet you they did a lot of stuff pre-market. Wow. Let me get some screenshots, man. That's epic. That is epic. That I honestly, I guess we definitely would have gotten paid that day. I absolutely agree, Wolfie. Let's get that money. Oh man, that's awesome. Uh, so let's take a look at what we're working with here. So we were already very bearish. Look at that. Like everything was bearish. London was bearish. So the 4 hour was bearish. The 1 hour was bearish. Dang, London. For once, they would have gotten some trades, man. Some trades. London would have gotten some trades. I don't know, maybe they wouldn't have gotten too much trades. Let's check for Bob's setup here. All right, so got the 15. Well, they never broke above the high, so never mind that. So let's use the 15-minute low and see if he would have gotten something. So maybe we could have caught this first move down. All right, so let's see what Bobby would have gotten. I think his entry would be on the 2 minute. Hold on. So this would have been the break. That would have been the retest, and then it would have left. So I think if I'm understanding, this is the engulfing candle that left it, right? So maybe his entry would have been at the top of that with his stop right there. And a 1 to 2 in this scenario would have been pay the trader, pay the Bobby. Yeah, would have gotten his 1 to 2 right there. Nice. Even if I'm wrong and it's this one. Let's see, it stops above here. That's a huge stop, by the way. So 1 to 149. He still would have gotten his 1 to 2. Boom. Beautiful. It's a really good setup. It's a really good setup. Anyway, so let's look at the 5 minute for me now. So I would have had this spec'd out. They wouldn't have made it to it yet. So we've been dropping. Roll back up. Didn't bother to roll in. So I would be wanting them to roll back down after this. Let me grab a screenshot of this delicious market that we're working with here. And this is the April, what date? April 4th. So April 4th, 2025. This is a Friday. All right. I'm just gonna add some stuff. So we had 4, 1 hour, 15. We definitely had a 5-minute shift in structure at open here. So let's look. Mm, Nothing super exciting. I would have preferred if they took this out, honestly. And then uh we came back down. I would have wanted to wait for some sort of shift here. This is a down close candle, so this up close candle did sort of take. No, it's not pretty. It's not pretty. It's not pretty. Because I originally would have said this was the shift, but given that there's a break in it, so that's the first shift, and this would have to be the second. And then I would have to look for something in this general vicinity for an entry. Let's drop to the 2-minute and see if it would even be worth it. So if this is the shift here, did they leave any fair value gaps? They left one tiny one here. So dependent on short position, depending on how big my stop would be, will tell me if I need 67. Jesus, this thing is huge. So that would be a 1 micro trade if I did that. To come down here. And no order blocks, no fair value gaps, except for this tiny one here. So if I were to use the body, I wouldn't have gotten in. I would have preferred it here, so I would have been tagged there. After this first shift, we did have a fair value gap, and then we dropped from it. If I used the body of the base of this candle, I also would not have been tagged in. Damn it. But the next potential area would have been right at the body of this little guy with a tiny, tiny fair value gap here and my very ridiculous stop here. And that 1 micro, I don't think it would have been too close to, I guess that's not really too close. It's 170 points away. But for an entry, that would have been difficult. Let's look at the 5-minute. Maybe there was something cleaner on the 5 minutes. No, because the only thing cleaner was if I'd taken this first entry here, and that stop would have been outrageous. So I cannot even remotely claim to say I would have taken that. There's no way. There's absolutely no way. So even though it was a big down day, I probably wouldn't have gotten anything in the AM, not anything clean, which is unfortunate. Now, if I had and I wouldn't take this because they already took this low out and then rejected from it. But, if I were to force something and then wait, like above here, again, that's too many points for a stop for me. So I wouldn't have taken this, but then I would have absolutely gone stopped out, like right there. But I wouldn't take that because like my target's already been taken. Why the heck would I sit around waiting for that? And to be completely honest with you, if the target's already been taken, I probably would have just closed for the day. What really messes this day up for me though is the fact that we didn't have any clean manipulation beforehand. We had, actually London was pretty crap until they just dropped. It was pretty crap until they dropped. And then they ran up a bit, tapped into this little fair value gap on the 5-minute. And then we kind of started, dropped, ran up, didn't take anything out, and then just dropped. It doesn't like give me a lot of clean entries, and I have to take clean entries no matter how bearish the day is. But one thing I've found though is like if it's like super bearish pre-market, I sometimes don't get like a clean setup in the AM. Now, if you're a different person and your setup was more wait for it to come back up to this order block with your stop here, and then you're hoping for them to take this low out, then you would have been tagged in here and then gotten your TP at 1:15 with an entry at about 11:10, so about 2 hours of waiting for that. But that's not my model, and so I'm gonna have to put the note in that um they had order blocks and they had a fair value gap, but there was a 5-minute shift, but it was too close to where I would need it to be, so there would be no entry for me here. So I'm just make that note. No entry on this day for my model. Let's look at the 2-minute one more time just to make sure. So on a 2-minute, because a shift for me requires some sort of like sweep, and maybe I'm looking at it wrong. Like maybe I should be looking at it from the standpoint that this pre-market shifted here, right? And then this would have been the second shift after that. But I like the second shift to be outside of the first, potentially. Because then if I took this to be the first shift and then this one to be the second at open, which I would never do, but excuse me, with no fair, there's a fair value gap right here at the very bottom of that order block. I would set it there, then my stop would have to be here. That's too much, A. But I had to sit through a bunch of crap. Aim for these lows or the midpoint of this wick. Pretty good return. But you'd have to sit through a lot of drawdown to get there. I like it. And I wouldn't take it, so I'm gonna be honest. So I'm gonna make that note, and that's April 4th of nothingness for me, sadly. All right, let's move on. Let me get some, I'm just writing in my journal here, y'all. Just making a quick note about this sad, sad day. But London, though. London would have had a shit time and then would have dropped at the end of the session. Damn. Just can't catch a break, London. Just can't catch a break. All right, we'll take that off. So the next day would be a Monday, I think. And that's April 7th, because that was a Friday, the 4th. All right, so we're extra bearish now. Like, if anybody doesn't think this is bearish, I'd be really, really surprised. With that big ass drop, though, I would think a small tap through this. We do have, they've created what is essentially equal lows here on this day, so they're definitely going to roll through it. But if we're continuing bearish, then, I mean, these lows are absolutely, in the crosshairs. So Wolfie, we still bearish or what? We bearish, we bearish. Wolfie would have gotten paid on this day. I would not have. But yeah, this is obviously bearish, and I shouldn't even ask the question. All right, let's dip forward. Oh, yes, exactly. I was like, it's gonna be a bearish day. We're gonna take some stuff out. And I hate days like this. These days like this are so difficult sometimes to trade. But let's see what we would have gotten out of this. So we would have gone into this day bearish, expecting to take these lows out. Oh my God, they gapped on the 4-hour. Rude. They gapped open to take out all of this. That is so mean. So mean. So at this point, all of my targets are gone. They didn't even give us a chance to get up in here. You know what I'm saying? Like, they just gapped through all of it. That's just rude. So we can just get rid of these. So we know all our targets have been tapped. Everything was pretty bearish until they turned around. But then the 4 hour became bullish after that. The 1 hour became bullish after all of that. And the 15 is sort of bullish, but looks more chopped sideways to me. So, and let's see about Bob's setup. I think he would have gotten a nice. We'll only mark the top because they never broke the bottom. Not that. Is that 930? Yeah, this one. They never broke the bottom. So let's look at the top. So let's look at Bob's setup real quick. Wow. This would have sucked. This day would have sucked. I can already tell. I can already tell. Like, I would have put entries, I would have put orders in and not gotten tagged. But for Bob, like, there was no retest. Like, they just ran away. Yeah, look at that. They just ran away. No retest in sight. That's most unfortunate, but whatever. All right, well, let's take a look on the 5 minute. So we did all of that. We took out a bunch of liquidity, and then we turned around and decided to be douchey about it and then give us nothing to work with. Sigh. Sometimes these days can be rough. So on the 5 minute, I do like this though. Like, we came in, we swept some lows out, not London, which is unfortunate. I would have loved to have taken all of London, but this small little consolidation we did take out. And then on the 5 minute, this is the shift in structure right here to bullish. And then the secondary shift, market structure shift or change in state of delivery, whatever the heck people want to call it, occurred when we busted above this like it didn't exist. Bam, bam. Now, with this kind of scenario, the only long I could potentially even remotely think of taking is at the body of this 5 minute candle. And then my stop would have to be below here. Let's see. And I would have been stopped out upon my entry area here. And then I would have just been like, we going up some more? Maybe look at the bodies there. But yeah, on a 5 minute, that's what I would have considered. And I would have been stopped out just a tad bit before they ran up some more. It would have been a rough day. So I'm going to note that on the 5 minutes. I don't like this big run up, so I probably wouldn't actually take that. But that's the main thing I can see in that scenario there. So let me add that in as a screenshot, and I'm gonna note that that would be the 5 minute entry if I took it, and that would have tagged me in at 10:35. Man, that would be like a insta stop almost. Tag and stop, like, get out. What was that? Oh, hell no. Wait, never mind. The stop would have been 107.5. I wouldn't even have. Nope. Let's look at the lower time frame. There's no way I would take that. That stop is way too much. There's no way in hell I could take that. No way. So, no opportunity to get in here. We've seen this before where they tap in, drop. So if I would have wanted, again, an entry, I would take it at the top of that guy. But not even for 1 micro could I possibly do this. There's like nothing. There's nothing for me to do. This is a terrible day. Look at this. We're just going sideways. We ran up, came back down, and then nothing. So that's like 2 days I wouldn't have gotten a trade, but that's all right. That is all right. So I would have been very, very bearish, but there's no criteria because I had nothing. So let's just make the note. Sadly, no opportunities, which is ridiculous. But it does also note the fact that, just because the charts are moving, that doesn't necessarily mean that we would have gotten something good in there. So that's a sad state of affairs for the Monday. But let's dip over to the Tuesday and maybe we get something a little bit. April 8th. All right. Let's remove that. Let's go to the daily. All right. So we had this dip. We've taken that out. I mean, we've dropped a lot. Like this is rude. Is there anything even left? There's a small low down here. With that big push down, it's too close though. But let's see. So I'm still bearish on this. We're still very bearish. But you see how they like to you see how they like to, like, once you've taken out major lows, they like to like manipulate you the next day after that. It's really rough. All right, so we are bearish. Still bearish, Wolfie? Maybe Bob would get a trade this next day, perhaps. So I'm guessing you're still bearish, so yeah. So we would have gotten a push up and then a bit of a down day. So let's take a closer look. So that 4 hour, you're bullish on this day? Okay. I was definitely bearish until they give me some more higher time frame stuff. But the pre-market was pretty bullish though on the 4 hour. But I'd still be looking for shorts because we were still digging in the deep there. And it looks like maybe this would have been a good day for some trades there after nothing on the Monday. So this is all bullish up until that, which is annoying. It's bullshit day. Consolidation mainly on the 15, which sucks. And then while we're thinking about it, let's take a look at Bob's 15-minute orb setup because I am fascinated by it. I think it works really well. So let's drop that. Okay. And then let's drop down to the 5-minute and see here. So looks like the first breakout was on the 5-minute and they did do a retest for him. So let's see if we got something. If he could have taken the long here, if he was bullish. So I think he would have taken it at that candle right there with a stop right below that low. So he would have gotten his 1 to 2 on that long. Yep. He would have gotten it pretty quickly too. In under 10 minutes approximately. Not bad. Looks like he would have gotten the similar scenario on the shorts later on in the day though, but he wouldn't be trading now anyway. But that's the trade he would have gotten. All right, back to my scenario. So let's look at the 5-minute. So London was taken pre-market. We just kind of opened and ran up. So I would need, this is sort of ugly, isn't it? Well, technically, this 5-minute up close candle would be the first shift once we broke below it because these guys busted above it. So that would be the order block right there. And then we dropped. So the second shift, at least on the 5-minute, And clone that is actually all the way down here. Not bad. And this is too far away fair value gap wise. So if I were to take this, I would take it at the body of this candle. Oops, wrong tool. So the short tool, because I'm bearish, I would have to take that. And then my stop would be 68. Jeez. Be a 1 micro trade again, huh? We have London lows to aim for. So just look for that right here. And if I took this on the 5-minute, I would have gotten tagged in at 11:35 gross. I really don't like taking trades after 11 if I can manage it. But that would have paid. That would have paid. Let's look at the 2-minute and see if there was a cleaner option on the 2-minute we could work with. So, okay, so similar scenario, 2-minute. This up close candle took those out, so that's the order block. So we'd adjust this down a smidge. And then once we got swept through here, we actually could have grabbed an earlier entry, because that's the first shift through right there. Then the second shift, this is another order block right here. Not my fave, but it's pretty close. So an entry could have occurred, like, given that tiny thing, could have tried something like that with it at the top of this guy. And then again, aim for London lows. And then just manage the trade. That'd be a whopper though. That would be a whopper. You could also just, be a bit more conservative and look for those lows or that fair value gap right there. So that low, that's not bad. So the 2-minute would have given us a little bit more to work with. I'd only feel comfortable because we wicked up and then we left no fair value gaps in here at all. I would have wanted to see if we could hold this little order block like we did this one, because it's not a shift, but it's kind of like a push down. The real next shift is really down here, and if we took that one, we could have taken it at the fair value gap here, or at the base of the order block here, and then just put stop up here, which is the original 5-minute entry. This one's more iffy to take, and this one's more measured. But the probability of me setting this order and then waiting until, waiting almost 40 minutes for that to come into play is very, very low. But we'll note that that was the potential entry, and we'll just say that's what we could have done, but we most likely would not have taken it. We got to be honest with this situation. Because I would have preferred something, if I could get something between 10 and 11, that'd be better, I think. All right, let's note that. So criteria. So it's in line with the daily bias because we're bearish. We did have a market structure shift, fair value order block. Before the 1 hour and the 15 were not in line before we started this. We did have a 5-minute shift, so it's unfortunate, but we didn't really get as much as we would have liked out of this. We would have had to wait. Maybe later in the day actually might have given us something better. So like continuation, push up, order block, shift below it, shift below that. Entry would have been like right here, and I wouldn't have gotten it. Dang. It's rough, man. So the entry time frame, cleanest one would have been the 5-minute for this. And we could just reach for the London lows, see if they want to take it. So that would have been like a I highly doubt I would actually sit here this long, but this is a nice staircase day because like once it dropped, stop above here, stop above here, stop above here until so either I get stopped out at my trailing stop or I get full pull. And the stop loss would have been 62.25. Oh my God. So one micro, given where I would have had to put it, and the entry would have been at like 11.35. I hate that. I dislike it very much. Sasha, come here, baby. Get off the printer. Sasha, come here. Get off. Come here. Guys, this cat, man. You're gonna break it. Get off the printer. You coming? All right, kitty break. Come here. What you doing, little girl? Don't flop. Come here, easy girl. She does not want to be held. Look, she's trying to escape. Escape it. Now, if it was Maddie, Maddie would just sit down and take it, just take my cuteness aggression. Sasha is like more picky. She wants to be held. She's super needy. But when she doesn't want to be picked up, she doesn't want to be picked up. Anyway, let's move on from this lame day. Not a fan. Do not approve. You can kiss my tuchus. All right, I am still bearish on this day. What do you think, Wolfie? We getting our bad kitty. I know, right? She just ran away. Didn't want to show me any love or, devotion. But you know what she does though? We're sleeping and she's like rattling the door handle because she wants attention. It sounds like a grown ass man trying to get in the door, like he's got, and this is like her. I open the door really quickly one more. She's like, all right, Wolfie's bearish. I'm bearish. We're all in line. Let's go. So I'm just putting in my notes that I probably wouldn't take that April 8th trade. Move along. Let's go. Hold on. Let me prep my journal here for the next day. All right. So we would have been smoked. Smoked. They went straight for the gap fill. Straight for the gap fill. Ah, that's so rude. All right. Let's see if we could have gotten in on this action. They're playing with her emotions, Wolfie. They're playing with her emotions. She's just playing with everything in here, man. Dang. All right, so that's April 9th. Right? Like, they blew right past us, man. They were just like, I know you all bearish up in here. I know you all bearish, so we just gonna do what we want. We're just gonna smoke you. It's from a movie. Was it John and Mnemonic? I'm thinking, maybe. Oh, this pre-market would have been mildly annoying. Big drop yesterday. Didn't take the low out. I don't know. What would you even call that 4-hour? Confusing? We would have had to like work with the session bias. Jeez. And poor London. I don't like this. Like, we didn't even get to take the London lows out or anything. And then it looks like we chopped a bit at the beginning of the day. There's a little chopping going on. Yeah. Again, I feel bad for London, man. They get a shit rap most of the time. They really do. I mean, every time I look at London, I'm like, why would anybody trade this? This is just so shitty. And then sometimes it can be so nice. All right. So as always, let's test out Bob's setup. They never broke this low, so it would have had to be a long. And then he would have had to wait. Oh my God, that AM session would have been just awful. Look at this. Is this like an FOMC? No, it's like 115. So something happened. It just ran right up. So I can tell you right now, the probability of me getting anything in this AM is massively low. Like massively. Look at it. Like the only thing in here is a potential long. Let's see, one, two, the potential long at the body of this candle, because I can almost guarantee you that the stop's going to be insane. And I would have to be like, I'm going to just try, like, that would be like a one micro trade. Look at that. There's no way. Look at it. Like, if I were to say, okay, I'm going to try and take it at this body, I would have been barely tagged in there at like 3 o'clock. Ugh. And then nothing. Or there's none of my stops that could withstand these candles. None of them. None of them. I'm gonna be real honest. Like, there's no stop here that could withstand these candles that I could bring to bear. That could take these candles. Damn. Damn. They really did us dirty this day though. They did us real dirty. So for everybody who was trying to go short, everybody was trying to go short. They probably were like, yeah, we took out London. Nice. This candle right here. So this is hindsight, so don't be mad at me. So that's the order block, right? That's the change in state delivery right there. The first one. Then I would discount this next one because I don't trust this. I would have to wait for this to get taken out, which never came. So then I would have gotten nothing, because my setup's simple, right? We sweep some highs, we shift below, and then I try and get an entry at the second area of interest right around here with a stop above that high. We ain't get none of that. So again, nothing for me to do. Big run up. I mean, these candles are huge. Let's see. This one alone, 650 points, y'all. This is some I'm gonna smoke you shit. Like, wow. That's definitely a sit on the sidelines and and wait. Now let's see if the 2 minute could have even remotely helped us out here. Because there's nothing here. After this big move up, well, first of all, let's just note that they were digging up into this gap, right? So we have there's a big old gap in here. That's one thing, right? So let's like change the color of that to like a light blue. Then we have all of this, and then we have this like this order block right here. They never bothered. They didn't come up to that, but that can be a target for later. But anyway, let's go back to the 2 minutes. Now we dig in hard. So if they're digging to run up into this gap up here, okay, fine. We get nothing this way. The only thing left after they swept up here, so they have this little order block that we dipped into for this. I bet you any stop I put in here will be disgusting. Will be disgusting. Big candle, fair value gap right here. Like the only fair value gap I could potentially even remotely get away with it. And it's still 169.5 point stop. Just no way. There's just no way. And then if I'm like, we shifted above here, yeah, there's nothing. There's nothing for me to do. The other option would be to maybe take it at the body of this down close candle, but then that doesn't fit with my setup at all. At all. So I'm sorry, but this is a wash for me. Someone else might be able to get something out of this day, but those candles are too big. It's well outside of my pay grade to manage. So I'm gonna have to add into my notes. The stops would be prohibitive here. They would be very prohibitive. Oh my goodness. Jesus. They just ran up and I don't like days like this. They don't give you a chance to do nothing. Give you a chance for nothing. All right, so we just had a big engulfing candle. So now I'm feeling a lot more bullish. Um, okay, so I think Maddie's coming and she's crying. What's up, little one? Who's a good girl? Come here, baby. Come here. She's just rubbing up against my leg, y'all. Yeah. Oh, she doesn't want to be picked up either. Damn, can't get no kitty love today, man. It's some bullshit. All right, Wolfie, what you got? Are we gonna finish closing up this gap? Cause we got a big old gap. That's so rude. Like they got to half of the gap. So I'm gonna say they're gonna close the rest of the gap out. If we're real bullish, this extreme right here, the top of this daily candle is something I would be interested in. And then the midpoint of the wick and then the top. Yeah. I mean, how could we not be bullish on this particular day? Oh no. They are just making a mockery of us. Wolfie, man. They are mocking us. They're mocking us hard with this bullshit. This is on April 10th, 2025. Dang. I was hoping they wanted to fill that up. Yeah, exactly. I also face planted. Did you saw it just now? I'm just like, what the hell? Ah, they ignored it. Oh, I can already tell this day was a shit day to trade. Big push up and it's a shit day to trade. Okay. So the 4 hour was massively bearish. The 1 hour was, I mean, after that big move, I really was expecting a little bit more. The 1 hour was bearish. The 15 minutes was a slow grind down to bridge back into that fair value gap. So, okay. Damn, that is rude. That is so rude. So for Bob, okay, yeah. It never even like it broke out on the bottom. So let's see what he had. So it broke out on the bottom, retested, and then dropped. So I think you would have to sit through some drawdown. So I think this is the only, like once we dropped, I think that one, oof. Stop might have been above this guy. That's too much. So he might have tried for that guy potentially. Midpoint. And then a 1 to 2. Pay the trader. Hey, Wolfie, maybe we should be doing Bob stuff, man. Like we're it's looking pretty good most of the time. It's simple, it's easy, but those stops, man, those stops are terrifying. Oh, goodness. Jeez, that really does mess with my confidence a little bit. I mean, come on. All right, so let's say I was originally bullish, but market opens and I'm looking for a reason to go long. So if I'm looking for a reason to go long, I would be like, yes, let's take out London lows here. Let's take that out. And then let's shift up, drop back down, and then just take out the highs. When we didn't get any of that and we just kept dropping, now we have to change our thoughts potentially, or just be like, hey, I'm not going to bother the trade at all this day of insanity. So pre-market, again, I'm sorry, London, you guys get a shit time with these charts for real. So this is one of those days again that messes with me because I have no proper um sweep or anything. So then the order blocks become, I guess, a little bit more murky for me to see, especially since I was bullish on this particular day and it ended up being like a bearish day. But let's see what we could have done with it. So, uh, if we looked at this as like a little bit of a sweep of this tiny consolidation here, and this is a stretch, let's be clear, it's a stretch. I know it's a stretch. It's hindsight. We're just trying to find a reason to get into a trade because we couldn't get shit the day before because they just ran away and those candles were huge. You'd have to like just get in with no stop and hope and then have your finger over the flattened button like a junkie waiting for your next fix or some shit. I don't know. Anyway, um, so we would have just been annoying. I hate these days. I do not like them, especially when you don't really get a fair value gap to work with or anything. It's just like a slow grind down. So the 5 minute would have been like a huge mystery to me there. Let's see if the 2 minutes any better. For a little bit more clarity, I suppose. So I would have to look at this tiny push up to take this high out as a pre-market shift on the 2 minutes. So let's, because I wouldn't take this. There's too many wicks anyway. There's too many wicks. I hate when there's wicks. When there's wicks, everything's always more painful and annoying and manipulated. It's just not a nice place to trade. Where's a kitty? I want to get a kitty hug. No kitties. They just came up here to meow at me, step on things, and then run away. I'm so offended. Okay, so then the next 2 minute shift would be here. Did they leave us anything juicy? So we have no fair value gaps, just a bunch of wicks, and this 3 candle thing. So my stop needs to be above here. So let's see. Oof. This would be a 1 micro trade, y'all. So I would have to have a 1 micro trade on this. And then we'd have to figure out what our target is. Let's go to the 1 hour. I like to look at the 1 hour for targets. So we have this big fair value gap. That's too close to entry. So midpoint of the fair value gap, the quadrants, like that's good targets, right? It's a big 1 hour candle. So let's switch to and just look at the quadrants inside of it really quickly. So 0.25, 0.75. There we go. So then now I would just be aiming for something inside of here. So 0.75 quarter way into this giant fair value gap would be our target. And of course, all of this we would do, like, we would already have done like pre-market before it opens. Like, we would be looking at what the highs are, what the lows are, what fair value gaps are there for things, and then, focus on whether or not we can get to those things pre-market. But we're doing this in hindsight, so life is like a box of chocolates. So let's go back to the 2 minute here. And so if that's the midpoint, approximately, that's a lot. Let's be clear, it's a lot. So would have gotten tagged in about 1040 if that was my entry, because guess what? There is literally nothing else I can use for an entry here. And my stop is so big, I have to put it at the body of this candle. If I got tagged in or didn't get tagged in, it wouldn't matter because I need to go with what my stop can cover. And my stop has to cover this intermediate high. It has to. So it would have to be at the body. And so my entry criteria is relatively simple, right? So if we had a clean, Let's look for a clean one on the left here. Or clean-ish, anyway. Okay. So pretend that this is like a secondary like setup. So we took this out, shifted. Here's a secondary. Let's pretend it's a shift. So in this scenario, again, this is inside of the both of these order blocks, but I have to figure out how big my stop needs to be. So again, I would have to, for 56, so one micro trade, my stop there, I would have to put it at the base of that first order block to get the stop. But in scenarios where this is smaller and I can use the order block, the fair value gap for an entry, and then up here, and my stop is not like 109 points, and it's like, say, 45 points, then I could do that. But these candles are huge. So these would all be one micro trades if I took them at all. So we would have gotten tagged in here. We would have dealt with very little drawdown on the 2 minute. And then it would have, kind of dropped. And once we took out this low right here, I would move my stop to there. Now, this is probably a lot of movement, so I'd probably be locking in more, if I'm being honest. I'm going to be real honest with y'all. Like, I'd probably be locking in more because from this little entry area here to down here, we already at like 100 points. I'd probably lock in like 70 of it or something like that just to, I think that's only $70, but whatever. Lock in like right at the top here. And then once we moved, okay, we didn't even take that low out yet. Yeah. So then I would be just like at break even here. 1 micro. Jeez. And then once this dropped, we would have just gotten our TP. And that's a lot for 1 micro. Let's see. 67.50 stop. 67.50 stop. And 327.50. You know what's really funny about the targets that I'm now looking for is the simple fact that those targets. Okay, so let's adjust the stop switch just to 1 micro. So 69. Let's put it to 70. Close 76. Nope. Let's put it to 80. Oh, seriously? 83? Nope. 85. Okay, 90. Okay, so 90 point stop. That would have been $655 on that 1 micro. Like, it's pretty impressive if you can get that to move. But what's fascinating to me is like, I was like only looking for 30 points on a mini, right? And then here we are looking at scenarios where we could potentially get 327 points. Oh man, it's so crazy to me. Anyway, so that would be like the only real setup I see. And we would have to sit through a lot of bullshit to get there. But it is what it is. So let's just note it. Whether or not we would have taken it because of all that wicking, I don't know. But it would be in line with the daily bias. We had a FVG order block. We had a 5-minute shift. It's not really pretty day. It's not pretty day. We didn't sweep the highs. I think the 4 and the 1 hour were in line, but not the 15. The 15 was like going sideways on this day, which sucks. And the entry would have had to been on the 2 minutes. The 5 minutes wouldn't have given us any kind of potential entry opportunity. It would have been a messy kind of day to take this trade. But I mean, it would have paid. That's a lot of 4.85 for that stop. Jesus. And for 1 micro stop, yeah. So that would have been 67.50 stop loss. Ugh. You notice like this at this particular time frame, we end up getting we can only take 1 micro on these trades. It's so crazy. In April last year, I'm kind of offended, if I'm being honest. I'm offended. by April of last year. I'm massively offended. All right, moving on. Let's move on to the next. Let's go back to the daily. All right, Wolfie, we're 0 for 2 at this point. I'm still wanting them to dig into this gap. But I mean, overall, it's still bearish, but we have this big engulfing candle, so it makes me want to be more bullish. So I am going to say bullish because I want them to close the gap. Is that a good reason to be bullish? What do you think? That just because I want them to close the gap? So April 11th is a Friday on this day. So this is the Friday. We've had a big engulfing candle. I mean, we engulfed all of this and tapped into this. We haven't closed it. So Wolfie's bullish. I'm bullish. Let's go. Yeah, we would have had a nice inside bullish day. So for once, we finally got on the board. We're on the board, Wolfie. We're on the board. We're barely on the board, but we're on the board. All right, so let's see. Do we have any confluences for this bullish day? Well, we dug into this 4-hour fair value gap and we just sort of hung about in there. We're just going sideways of grossness. Very lackluster. You're absolutely right. Very lackluster. But we would have been bullish, so maybe we could have gotten something. It looks like we could have potentially gotten something. And this had a sweep of the London lows, which actually is near and dear to my heart. So potentially we could have gotten something. So far, only Bob's setup has been paying the trader on a regular basis. Or at least giving him an opportunity to get in on something. So let's see. He had this guy on the 15 minutes. So we had that guy and that guy. And some of this might have happened post like 11 a.m. So let's just for giggles and stuff for Bob. So the first 15-minute breakout occurred up top. Did we have the break and retest that he would have enjoyed? So we had the break, the retest, but no, candle follow through. So that wouldn't have done a diddly squat. It wouldn't have gotten anything here or here. And it would have happened after lunch and he wouldn't have taken it anyway. So sorry, Bob. Nothing for you, Bubba. At least not for that scenario. So you'd have to just sit still. Let me take a screenshot of this 5 minutes of. So we would have had London lows here. Very nice. And we would have taken that out here. So on the 5 minutes, damn, this sucks. So on the 5 minute, the shift for me would be all of this down close candle right here. That would have been the shift. And that wouldn't have happened until lunchtime. Ugh. Why is this hard? So that would have been the 5 minute shift. And if I was being... We've also seen that maybe the 2 minute might be a better, might give us a better opportunity. And I'm going to say that that is a big fat no-ish. So this candle, so this would have been the shift on the 2 minute. And none of this is clean and clear for me, if I'm being honest with you. And I wouldn't have liked it anyway because the 5 minute shift is so far away. Because pushing into this order block here, right here, and then rejecting off of it and dropping, but then, so would have been nothing until a shift up in the PM. And then any entry I would have wanted, I wouldn't have gotten. And almost positive, which is really sad, but it's almost positive that whatever I might have been aiming for this day, I wouldn't have taken it because we got way too close already. So like the base extreme of that order block over here would have been like something I would have considered for an entry. And that's where they ultimately went and tagged it here. But after this first shift, the second shift on the 2 minute would have been here. So given the nature of the stop again, it's a big ass stop. So I might have attempted an entry at the top of this guy. That would not have gotten tagged in. The body of the order block. Maybe if I'm being cheap and I put my stop below the order block itself and not the whole level, then I would still, but no, it's still 1 micro. Still 1 micro. And then aiming for that top again. Big move. 1 to 3. What's that? 268 with a 72-point stop. So 72-point stop to what? 268. So a little like 600 or so. So because a 90-point stop would be full 180, so I would be risking less, which is nice. So approximately yeah, about 536 altogether. Still not bad, but not great. But that's like the only, and I would have had to wait quite a while for that sort of entry, and I don't think I would have taken it. So I'll note it, but I don't really think I would have taken that. I'm gonna be real honest with y'all, because then we would have had that 5 minute shift, and then I would look for another shift above it, which would have occurred right here, and that's where the secondary entry would go. So let's note what our confluences are. So we were bullish because of that big engulfing candle. And so this was still in line with our daily bias, 5 minutes order block. I think the 4 hour, 1 hour, but not the 15 was in line. There was a 5 minute shift, but it's ugly. And this entry would have had to been under 2 minutes because the 5 minutes wouldn't have given us anything. Entry model number 2, it's not pretty, but and this would have been a bit of a stretch, I think. So I'm gonna just note that, like, bit of a stretch entry here, even if it would have paid. So I'm kind of on two minds on whether or not I would have been able to get something with that and a single micro. So that would have been a 1 to 372, which is not terrible on the micro, but this would have been a PM trade and we would have gotten it at like a 130. And I'd have been biting my nails like, is it going to work? You know? I wouldn't know. All right, moving on. April so far has been pretty craptastic, I've decided. All right, what you think, Wolfie? We were bullish on that next one, and we were bullish, but it was an inside day. Probably get some nice push movement out into the next day now. I'm gonna say, so we'll be starting a new week too. We starting a new week. This would be April 14th. So I'm still saying bullish. All right, Wolf is bullish too. Let's go. Yeah. Yeah. Still an inside day, but hey, I will take it. That's two in a row now that we've been right. The question is, would we have been able to get anything out of this? So, oof, gap opening. Gross. There would have been no bullish entry in here. Damn. So we had a gap opening that looked like it wanted to be bullish, but man, this week would have sucked. At least this morning would have sucked anyway. And the 4 hour, 1 hour just kind of going sideways, not really doing anything. We don't want to see one of them get their asses handed to them, but no luck there. And slow grind up, London high taken out. I like that. But I would have been looking for longs. Would have been looking for longs for sure. So let's look at Bob's stuff. Like his stuff would have, they never even tapped the tops. Look at the 5 minute real quick. And they didn't break it. They didn't really retest it. So I don't think he would have gotten an entry here. Or maybe he would have just been like, oh, okay, we'll just go from this one and stop above here. I don't know. That one I'd have to ask him though, because there's no real retest on that one. So this is the 5 minute candle of grossness for me. And damn. So we swept the highs. I like that. I like that they swept the highs beforehand. And then they dropped aggressively at open. Like, seriously? 266 points. Now, since they dropped lower, let's see where they could have gone for the drop. Like on the 1 hour. Personally, I'd be looking at the extreme of this bearish order block. So it'll be bearish, yeah, I don't know, top, bottom, whatever. So that would be something to aim for if you were gonna take a short. I don't know if I would have taken a short, but that's what you could aim for. But doesn't look like we would have gotten anything until after lunch. And then lunch is when they actually dropped and took all of that. And then since we were bullish, Wolfie, this was the low. We'd have to wait for it to be broken. So it looks like the PM would have been the only potential. So that would have been the first shift. And I hate, that shift sucks. Hey, Maddie. Oh my God, did you hear that? So much big baby crying. So that would have been the order block that they hung about in for quite some time. And then they shifted up. So the only really? Come here. What do you want? Come here. Stop crying and get up here. Coming up? Yay, I finally get some kitty love. Get a little Maddie action. Hello, little one. You finally want some love. She came up here just like, meow, meow. Needy little girl. All right, kitty break. Kitty love breaks. This one will let me like pick her up and do stuff more, at least during the day. What you doing? What you doing? You know, to get your little floppy flop. Ooh, you did get your little flop flop. Oh, that is not a toy, little one. It is not a toy. Who's got the little pawsies? Who's got the little pawsies? Yes, you do. Who's my girlie? Anyway, so do you mind? That's not for you. Swear to goodness, this cat. All right. So since we were still bullish, we would have gotten, I suspect, like we might have been able to catch a short in the middle of all of this, but let's be honest, I would probably not even be looking at the charts at this point. And then I would be salty. They rolled up on the order block and then turned around. So the next opportunity would have been here. And I would have wanted an entry at the top of the fair value gap. Let's see what that stop would have looked like. Not a bad stop. I could have done 2 micros. And I would have been hoping that they wanted to dig into that order block up here like that. Or maybe the bottom of that fair value gap. They wouldn't have made it there, but I would have hoped. Let's look at the 2 minutes. what's up, pretty girl? You should need a little baby. You're not even a baby anymore. You're like a big cat. Like they're so big. I thought I was gonna get like the cutesy little tiny kittens, but nah. All right, let's see what we could have gotten in here. So for the 5 minutes, I don't think we would have been tagged in at the base of that. Let's zoom in real tight. Oh shit. We would have been just barely. You see that tiny, 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 tiny little tap there? So we would have been tagged in on the 5 minutes. And then we would be managing the trade kind of aggressively. This is the PM. So if we got tagged in here, once this busted above here, the stop would be there. And we would be just, I don't know, like depending on how big this push up is, it's 80 points. And where's my stop? From the entry to here is about 21. I might be locking in 70 points just to do that. So I'm just curious, what is 70 points on 2 micros? I think the stop's at, yeah, so 2 micros, about 315. Yeah, I want to lock in like the $300. Oh, look at you, the belly. Who's got the belly? Yes, you do. So I might have, that might have been, I might have locked it in somewhere around here, or maybe even under here, just cause I don't know about you, but giving back, dollars seems a bit cray-cray. But we also don't have the structure to back it up either, so might have just left with that. I don't know. But that's like the only thing I can think of, and it's not pretty. Like this is not pretty. Or after this shift, this is where it finally shifted. I mean, it shifted above it a few times. Maybe we can consider this a secondary shift. Then we could have tried that entry, but I wouldn't have liked that because there's 2 fair value gaps in between it. Or we've seen this scenario before where we dip into it and then we can instead take it at the order block here and then have the stop be at that low. And then we could just aim for like this fair value gap to be filled over here. That would have worked. That would have been better entry. Because I think sometimes I overdo the shifts and I need to really pay attention to where it actually occurred. Because if we look at the 2 minute, like the first shift really occurred here, right? And then we're just waiting for them to leave this area on a second shift, which occurred here. And so if we keep pushing up above here, we tapped into the fair value gap a little bit, then that makes this entry a lot more appealing than this one. So that would have been a nice setup, and we would have been able to take 2 micros on that with that stop. And that would have netted us what? 111.25. 25 and 2 micro stops at 37.25. That's the other thing I like about the stop opportunity is, you know, I'm not actually risking 180. Like whatever this 0.42 is probably like 140 or 130 or something less, you know? So that's nice. So I'd get somewhere in the vicinity of 500 or 450 or something on 2 micros. That's pretty good. So let's document that puppy. So as always, as we push above, like we make a low, I wouldn't have liked this low as much to put my stop there because of the fair value gap. So I might still just be like dealing with fees down this way. And then once we made this low and then pushed up, then I would put my stop there and then I would just, you know, get my tagged in because I don't need the world. I just need um, wherever makes sense above. So let's note that. And this is one I need to like really pay close attention to because as I've gone through this, I've seen a number of these scenarios where these smaller candles and the tap into the fair value gap and the runaway have been like the best plays for me. So let's note the PM trade. What time was this? So yeah, so I would be more than happy to take a 2 p.m. trade. Absolutely. I love a 2 p.m. I love anything between 2 and 3, anything between 10 and 11. Like when we start pushing past 11, and I know there's some trades that show up, and especially if the AM is, if the 10 to 11 Eastern is really choppy, then most likely you'll get the move between 11 and 12, you know? And then in that case, I need to be more like vigilant to that fact. But this long would have been in line with the bullish bias that we had. It definitely swept the lows. There was not a clean market shift, but there was a fair value gap and order block scenario. The four, no inversions. The 4 hour, the 1 hour, and there's a 5-minute shift in there. It tapped a higher time frame PD array below here with that what was it, the 4 hour order block or the 1 hour order block on the left there. And then it just chopped around for like, geez, about 2 hours or so before I decided to move. Oh, that's rude. It's very, very rude. So for this one, my stop would have been 37.25 on the stop. So I would have been able to take 2 micros on that. And then this would have been a 2.99 risk to reward. So basically 3. And I'm just going to make a note, like, note the, come on, I'm typing. Note the 2-minute OB order block and the tap of the bullish FVG below. We've seen that a number of times. It's pretty, it's a nice entry. We've seen this work out a few times now. Who's giving me love loves? I love love loves. Give me love loves. Give me all the hearts. Hearts, 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 hearts. Yay! Thank you. How do I do hearts? Yeah. Okay, so it still would be an entry model number 2. Maybe this would even be considered like an advanced entry. I'm not really sure. I'm gonna have to ask that question. And the entry time frame would have been a 2-minute time frame for that one. All right, where are we? 2.5 hours, and I'm still raring to go. How are y'all feeling? All right, let's go. Yeah, did you see Maddie with her little needy? Ashley bringing the emojis. Yes, bring the emojis. Let's have a mini dance break. Make that into emoji. What? I don't know. Do you think I'm getting loopy, y'all? I don't know. All right, Wolfie, what we got? I am bullish. I am bullish for this next day. Let's go, the Bulls. April 15th. It's a Tuesday. I saw that, yes.
Everyone.
I
I don't know
know.
if you care or not. Just letting you know.
Sigh.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, I know. I was trying to not let the booby kneading show, but
On full display.
it's on full display that Maddie, when she flops, she's kneading a booby. It's just what it is. I can't hide it. It's just what she does. And I'm like, no, stop. It's so gross. But it's not. She's adorable. And I would love her to, all right. I would love her to continue being happy, so I let her need the boobies. Bullish! Oh, Wolfie, we got smoked. Or more importantly, they tapped into this little guy first. I think this is going to turn into a bit of a chop sideways fest for a bit. Dang, I hate those. It makes trading really difficult when we have those days. All right, let's check the 4 hour on this puppy. Yup. Just some sideways, bull poopy, digging into this volume imbalance, liquidity void, whatever the hell. The space where they did no buying or selling. But the 4 hour would have been mildly bullish trying to turn around, but it didn't go anywhere. Tapping into this guy though. So the 1 hour, let's see. Yup, just some sideways action. You know, the one thing I'm realizing, and I think is very, very important to recognize, is that just because we want, as day traders, we want to be finding a trade, it doesn't mean that we're going to get a trade. Look at this foolishness. I mean, come on. We basically, like, we found a little something, something here, but if we were trying to go, reach for the moon and not managers or stops and things, we would have left with nothing. And again, let's take a look at Bob's stuff, because this looks like it would have been a huge pain, and I don't think he would have gotten. So for the AM, let's mark our both sections, because I am fascinated with his model. So on the 5 minute, this would have had a bit of a breakout and a retest, but it would have failed miserably. And looks like it would have only gotten something in the PM, and I don't think it would have gone very far. I don't think this day is good for anybody. I mean, unless you're like a scalper, right? Like working on the seconds charts and just going ham. Yeah, he had the breakout and a retest, but no confirmation out of here. And we had the breakout and the retest. He did have a confirmation here, so this might have been a loss for him if he took that and the stops like under this low right here. Yep. So that would have been a full loss for that one if he ended up taking that one. So we're bullish. So we would be looking for some longs. Would have been looking hard for some longs. And we would have gotten nothing. Absolutely. I mean, come on. So for longs, here's what I would have wanted to see on this day. So fine. They took out London ahead of time. They also took out Asia. Let's see. No, they didn't take out all of Asia. But they took out London here. So I wouldn't mind seeing this at open, a little retracement, pop back up, retrace back down. I would look for an entry somewhere in this space and then run up to wherever, right? We got none of that. We got no follow through except for this weird, drop. And then maybe if you were short biased at this point, you could maybe take something at the bottom of this and, hope they want to take the low out, which obviously they didn't. Very rough day. It's a very rough day. And yeah. So I'm just going to note there was no actual setup on this day for me. Let me grab a screenshot of this shitty day. This is the day I just close the charts and just come back next day because there's no follow through. Let me get a 5 minute, which is unfortunate because it'd be nice if we got something juicy out of here, but we got no juice, y'all. We got no juice. Just taking some screenshots. I'm just putting the notes. No follow through or confirmation on this day. So I would sit out. I would. This is not a day I would do anything. All right. So we'll shoot for probably another 20 minutes and see how much more of April we can get through. And then I'm gonna go enjoy my Sunday. I mean, I am enjoying my Sunday, obviously, because I'm hanging out with y'all. And Wolfie's being super great. I'm still bullish. Okay? What do you think, Wolfie? I'm still bullish. I think they just wanted to fill in this, tap it, and then I think we're gonna have a big push up. Just meow to you too. Oh, she's coming back. Can you hear that? Can you hear her meowing? Oh, sorry. Never mind. Oh, okay. But Wolfie's bearish. I'm bullish. Let's keep it going. And Wolfie would be like right on the money. And you're probably right, because we're getting rejected off of these order blocks right here. Why wouldn't I want to be bearish in this moment? But I don't know, man. I'm still thinking they want to run up. But you are right. And let's dig in here. That's just a good exercise for both, to do to figure it out. And the 4-hour would have been quite bearish with a gap down again. Jesus, we're gapping a lot, man. This market's rough. This market is rough out in these streets, y'all. So it would have just been slow grind down. London would have had like a bit of a push up and then continue the grind. I hate slow grind. It's very annoying. It's very confusing. It just doesn't feel good to me. Oh, and then we can do, before we close out, we can test out the Thinkorswim on January 2026 data and like see if we can get one of those to work. London, hello. Knockout knockout Asia, why don't you? And let's see, 15 minutes. So everybody was bearish for the most part. And then Bob would have gotten probably a short. I don't think there would have been any follow through for him though. So we had a breakout here. Yeah. So the only breakout would have been this one. And if, he was bearish like you are, let's look at the 2 minutes if you got something. So we had the retest and then a drop. So might have taken the short at that guy. Stop above here, and sadly would have been stopped out. 1 to 2 though would be down here, which would have played out later in the day. Damn. Anyway, let's see what I would have done instead, because the first part of this day doesn't look very juicy from my setup, and only the PM looks like it might have given us anything. Okay, so no London high takeout, no real manipulation. We did have a bit of a short manipulation. This range, though, it's pretty small. I mean, it's okay, it's not that small. It's 204 points. But if you're like, let's see, Wolfie was bearish on this thing. So for the bearish to work, let's see. We opened, we dropped. So my original thing would have been, okay, so we dropped, we retraced, we dropped, and I would have needed to see this initially for shorts. Instead, we got this BS instead. So there would be nothing for me to do in this situation right here. We swept the 930 open out and a little bit of that as well. So your next opportunity now becomes the shift here. And then you need a secondary shift after that. So things I don't like about this secondary shift, even though it did occur, but it's really close to the first. So this candle popped up, took everything out right next to it. So this, really, Maddie? Up close candle here is the secondary shift. It's not pretty, but it is what it is. And I need to remember that, the charts, the patterns, the candles, they're going to move the way they want to move and not because I want them to look a certain way, right? Like I'm looking for some sort of perfection sometimes and I need to get over myself. Maddie, you're not getting any smaller, you're getting bigger. Why must she be on my desk, huh? Why? So then this means that I would have only found something in the PM here. The AM wouldn't have given me diddly squat. Let's drop to the 2 minutes with these shifty shifts. And I wouldn't want to take anything in the middle of this. These cats are so graceful though. They're like beautiful, graceful little kitties. It's just beautiful. The AM would have netted nothing. This big drop, and wait, before we even go to what could potentially be, where the hell are they even going? So areas I would have been interested in, the extremes here would have been interesting for me, and the body there, and then the midpoint of the wick would have been. So those three areas would have been what I would have been looking for. What are you crying about, little one? Do not flop up there. You get, Maddie, come here. Come here. Ugh, she's on the ledge. I don't like it. So those are the three things I would have been looking for. So once they got tapped into, I would have just been like, enough. I can't be bothered. Maddie. Oh my God, you're scaring me. Get off. Ugh, I have this fear she's gonna fall off of this freaking thing. And it's a long drop. I know she's a cat, but come here, baby. Oh, you scared me just now. You scared me. She scared me. Why you scare me? Why is it? Why must my face be like? Look at this. Just her paws in my face. Like rude. Don't do that. That was scary. You're pushing your face out to the open air. What if you hurt yourself? I don't want to go to a vet, okay? Look at her pushing my face away. She's so rude. You're so rude. Look at her, but she's so happy though. Who's your little baby? Who's your little baby? You just want attention? Who wants attention? Who's a good baby? I mean, every time I pick her up, she's always pushing my face away. She is adorable. Look at that belly. Look at that bell bells. This is my process. Pick her up, rub the bell bells, and then put her down. There you go. Adieu, farewell. Do not do that again. You scared mommy. Ah, such a good girl, though. All right. So this day, again, let me like get out of my head sometimes. After this big drop, after the shift, then you probably be looking for some sort of short. I just don't know. It's so close to these areas I'd want to take profit at that I don't know if I would have bothered. Like, let's see. After this drop, we had this fair value gap here. Let's see what the stop 54. So that would be a 1 micro trade. Like if I took it here, I'd be hoping they wanted to at minimum go here. This would just be a hope and a prayer. So yeah, I probably wouldn't have gotten anything here. Damn shame though. And this is so messy. Yeah, none of it's clean. None of it's clear. None of it's something I would have wanted to take. And these shifts are just not, they're too close. I don't like when they're so close. And I would want the next shift to be like a nice clear piece. And this would just be too messy for me. Crap. So that's like 2 days I wouldn't have taken a trade. Jeez. I'm sure other people have better methods to get in on these days, but given the way I trade and how when it's super clear, it works really well. that these days when we do all of this sitting around and marking time, it just doesn't work for me. Mm, sorry about that. All right, let's just note this, unfortunately. Unfortunately, no clean setups for no setups on this day. Ow, I bit my tongue. All right. So that's, oops, what day was that? That was April 16th. Yep, 16th. It's the Wednesday. So far, April 2025 was a shit show, and I don't like it. All right, let's get another day going. All right, so we are, let's clear this out. So Ebinar, Wolfie, what you think? Bearish? I'm gonna go with bearish. This bullish candle did not do its job and keep us going. So I'm going to go bearish until they show me otherwise. And I should have stayed that way anyway, because we haven't really shifted a second time above here. So this would be April 17th, 2025. That's a Thursday. All right, Wolfie's bullish. I'm bearish. All right, let's go. Let's see what we got. Oh, I can tell you already, there's the way that candle formed, I would have had nothing to do. I bet you anything, this looked super bullish at one point, and then it just went back to the entry. Oh, this is a terrible time. Remember I said this is forming up to be like some kind of sideways BS that we'd have to deal with? Terrible days to trade, just terrible. That's why I'm having such a hard time finding setups. Ah, we are stuck in a gross range, y'all. This is just gross. The markets have been a little bit, it has been, Ebinar. It really, really has been. You know, we have so much uncertainty, and then homeboy can just tweet something and just say something, and then the market just tanks. It's been rough, and we still got a lot more rough to work with. So this still feels, I mean, pre-market, very bearish for me, and that's why I was still bearish on the day. But I don't think there would have been an entry in here for me, given the way that moved. Yeah, look at that. That's just a trash day. It's a trash day. Ay, ay. So but maybe Bob would have gotten something out of that. Let's see. So there was a retest on this 5-minute candle. So let's see what the 2-minute gave for him. So it broke out, it retested a little bit. Then if he took this, I think he would have taken it at the base of this candle, maybe? That's quite a stop though. And then 1 to 2 would be down here. So on this day, it's a shitty day. You'd not be paying the trader at all. Sorry, Bob. If you take it at this candle, which I highly doubt, because I think you always take it at the more engulfing candle with that stop, yeah, it would not have paid the trader that day because he doesn't move his stop, which I applaud. For me, though, again, given the nature of the day, I would have been bearish. So my initial desire, as always, is for some sort of manipulation, even if it happens before New York happens. So we had news of some kind or something at 8 o'clock. Maybe not news because this didn't do much. Took a little bit of consolidation here, but not the London highs. So boo. New York opened bearish and just dropped, and it just continued dropping. I don't think I would have gotten anything out of this day. I don't think so. Let's see. So we opened, this is again the type of day where it makes it really hard for me to pick something to do. And the theme has been very clear that this happens the most on days when we don't get any manipulation, we don't get any clear shifts, we don't get any sweep of London highs or lows or things like that. And then it just sort of chops. And when we're in these like daily ranges, we're just chopping. We're just like chop suey up in this bee, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, let's try and force something. Let's try and force a short because I was bearish on this day. So, uh, eh, eh. It's not juicy. It's not juicy, y'all. It's not juicy. So, we would have had like this pre-market order block. I'm going to call it that because we took out this little high up here. And I'm only using that just to try and find some structure in all of this mishma right here. Trying to find some structure. I'm like, this is me. I'm gonna be straight up. We forcing this one. We forcing it hard. So then we'd have the shift here. So then we need a secondary shift. I don't know. Would this have been considered the secondary shift? I wouldn't have liked it. It's too close to the first one. I wouldn't have liked it. So then the next more obvious shift after all of that BS is this one, which means that any entry that I would have taken would have had to be in here. There's no fair value gaps. I would have to take it out of the body of that order block right there. Stop above here. So it looks like it's like a 1 micro trade. And then what the heck would we have even been aiming for in this super duper choppy market? So, could aim for the base of these guys. And then we could also aim for the midpoint of the wick approximately there, and then the low. So given that I wouldn't be getting I wouldn't be getting the return I wanted, I'd probably aim for the midpoint of the wick, which we obviously would not have gotten. So let's see, how would we have been tagged in on this puppy? So this is on the 2-minute. We're looking at the base of that order block right there. There's no fair value gap. So it's been a 1 micro trade. And then we would have been tagged in at 10:22. It's not a bad time. 10:22. And then I would just be looking. So we would have had like a nice reaction to start. So 70 points in. I do have this strong desire to drop my stop here, but that's only on the 2 micro or 3 micro trades. So I think instead for the 1 micro trade, since I don't think that's like a ton, I might just move my stop to break even and then wait for a retracement and drop below this low to move it again, which we would not have gotten. So I would have gotten stopped out for break even here, which is totally in line with this ridiculous day for trades. So let's note that foolishness and move on with our lives, because this would be forced. I would be forcing this trade. I wouldn't actually take this trade because I don't like the movement. No fair value. I don't like when they don't leave any fair value gaps. Although maybe I'm tired and I'm missing out on this bearish fair value gap as a potential area for an entry. But I'm forcing it now. So I might have been looking for this to be respected and then drop. And maybe since there's 1, 2, 3 candles, we could also have tried for a 5-minute for an entry at the base with a stop above the fair value gap. Then we'd have the fair value gap, most of the order block. We can push this up actually. The order block, and I don't know what else. I think for 5 minutes we only need two things to be in the way. So this guy at the top of the order block would be the two things reasons why we would put our stops there. In similar scenario again, if we took that 5 minute entry based off of the fair value gap, again, I probably wouldn't do this at all. I'm postulating at this point. Similar scenario, I would probably plop it right here since we kind of popped up, low, low, high, and then just see if we can get it, and then we would get stopped out here. So let's note that would be it, but I'm going to be very clear in my notes that I most likely would not have taken this at all. So better entry in this scenario would have been the 5 minutes. So from a criteria perspective, it is in line with my daily bias. There was a fair value at order block on the 5 minute. There's a 5 minute shift. But I don't know that I don't know that I would. I don't like, it's not clean. We haven't seen a lot of clean trades in April so far, so it's kind of hard to take that. For this one, would have been tapped in at 10:12. Something I do like on the 5 minute, much better entry than the 10:30 entry, and I would have been stopped out because the way I move my stop, I would need the structure, and I didn't get it here because if this had dropped below here, my stop would be here, and so on until the target. So then this would have been like a 0.04. 0.4 is all we would have gotten out of that with a 75. Oof. 75. And actually, let's check that. Like, it does say 1 micro that. 75.75 stop. So, not worth it. I don't like that the stop would have been 75.75. Even if it's 1 micro, I still probably wouldn't have taken that. So let me just put that in my notes. And this would still be like entry model number 2. We sort of got that with the shift down, retracement, shift again. It's not super clean. And that's why this is a very, very iffy kind of day. We didn't even like properly sweep this on the 2 minute to make a proper shift there. So this would be like a Hail Mary, I hope for the best kind of trade. And it's not my model, so I wouldn't take it. So let's just make sure that's very clear. This is not a trade I would take. I would let this day pass me by. I would. Oh, we're at 3 hours now. It's like noon. All right. So let's see. That was Thursday, April 17th. So let's close the week out and do April 19th. And then we'll close this out. And then I'm going to go have some brunch, I guess is what we'd call it now, because I haven't had breakfast. I've just been drinking sugar. Who doesn't love some sugar, right? So let's get to April 18th here. And what's our prediction on the day? We're still chopping, so it could be anything, honestly. It could be anything. We're still chopping. I'm bearish still. What we got, Wolfie? Last one. Ebenar, you got one too? Last one. No hot dogs for you. You know, I actually didn't eat hot dogs yesterday. I ended up making eggs and some banana fritters and bacon. All right. Wolfie's bullish. I'm going to be bearish. So let's go. Yes. Bearish for the win. It don't matter. We're in a really messed up place here. So it could have gone either way, to be very, very honest. How were your burgers yesterday, though, Wolfie? Tasty? Did you put your syrup on there to make it just right? Just the 4 hour. Okay, so the 4 hour would have been purely bearish on the 4 hour there. And the 1 hour, purely bearish. London looks like it was a crapshoot as well, unfortunately, but that seems to be a thing for London on a regular basis. I honestly feel bad for London. I don't keep saying it, but I do. I do. Slow grind down, mostly just going sideways. Like, you didn't really give them an opportunity to get into anything. Like, come on. Like, don't be so mean. But look, maybe Bob might have gotten something. First 15-minute candle. That next 15-minute candle definitely retested. So let's see what he got. Oof. Maybe not. Look at the 2 minutes. Oh, now that ran away from Bobby. Of course, I was afraid to put pineapple on it, but too much work. Wolfie, you are a treat. Wait, pineapple on a burger though? I get pineapple fried rice. I even get pineapple on a pizza, but on a burger though, that seems a bit extra. But hey, hey, if it's tasty and you love it, ain't nobody mad at you. Enjoy your tasty, delicious burger of pineapple-ness. Oddly enough, I'm not a pineapple fan. I'm not. I'm not a pineapple fan. All right, so we had a very clear down day. We had a little consolidation before, but not London highs. That wasn't taken out. We did have some small manipulation at the beginning. If you pair it pepperoni, all right. So I'm gonna have to refrain from saying anything about pineapple on pizza because I just don't like pineapple in general. But I know a lot of people love pineapple on their pizzas and stuff. So as long as you're happy. One time when I was in high school, we took a trip to the country. This is in Jamaica. I don't remember which parish either. Um, for like a badminton tournament. And we got there and I was so thirsty. And for some reason we had no water. None. And the only thing we had was like a cold pineapple in the cooler. And I'm like, why don't we have any water? This is ridiculous. And the gym wasn't open yet. So I couldn't get any water anywhere else. So they had to cut up the pineapples. I had to suck on a pineapple. No, I'm from the islands, man. I've had a real, like, you cut up like a proper pineapple, you cut it open, the fruit, and I was just sucking on that cold pineapple. I mean, that definitely assuaged my thirst, but I just don't know. The flavor is not my thing. I don't know why, but it's just not my thing. But no, I've had fresh, proper pineapple. I mean, you have to, like, on an island, like, you just, walk down the street and there's mango trees and guineps and neeseberry and all these delicious fruits. I miss them so much. And the tree might be in somebody else's yard, but it's like hanging over the side. So you just pick and eat and pick and eat. It's okay. Be nice. But you don't get that in the States. You don't get that deliciousness in the States. You go back to an island, you hope it's in season. Oof. You just hope. I love mangoes, man. Mango season. When I was in high school, yo, I would go to my high school with a couple of plastic bags, climb the tree and just pick and pick and pick and pick. I'd go home on the bus with like 2 or 3 big bag of mangoes. East Indian, hairy, blacky mangoes. Oh my God. It's like the East Indian mangoes, they're like really big. They're big mangoes. So it's like so much flesh and it's sweet and delicious. So it's almost like having a whole meal in that one big mango, right? So you can only eat like maybe one of those. If you have a bigger stomach like me, you might be able to get 2 down. So like a blackie or a hairy. So we call it hairy because like the skin's like an orange yellow, but it's like a smaller mango like that. And when you open it up, like the flesh is kind of stringy. So that's why we call it hairy. And then the blackie mango, no, like that skin mostly just stays green. And it is just, it's my favorite mango. It's small, so I can eat like, I don't know, 10 of them in one sitting. Easy, easy, easy. But pineapples, I'm not a fan. Not a fan. All right, last day of the week. little sweep here, little session manipulation, okay. And then we had a little shifty shift here on the 5 minutes. And then another big juicy shift here. They didn't really give us an opportunity to get into anything. This fair value gap was the only potential. Let's look at the 2 minute, because sometimes in the 2 minutes is the only place, or the 1 minute is the only place you could potentially get an entry. So we had the first shift here, another one here. Hey, Bob. Morning. Did you just wake up? I've been doing your 15-minute like orb and figuring out if your setup would work along with mine for like 3 hours, bro. 3 hours. Mostly, it's pretty good. But April 2025, not the best month for trading. At least my model and some of yours, but mostly yours did a whole lot better than mine so far. We've gotten about 18 days into April. Wolfie woke him up. You woke him up at the end, Wolfie, man. You woke him up at the end. Yeah, man, I've been going for 3 hours. This is the last day I'm doing, and I went off on a tangent just now on delicious mangoes. Ooh, delicious mangoes. So things I would go to Jamaica for, and I'm Jamaican, right? Food, beaches, people. Obviously. Jamaicans are amazing, wonderful, thoughtful people. Um, it can be a lot of other things too, just like anybody else. Just be clear. Um, but running there for the delicious food, oh, some jerk pork. Oh, give me all the fatty pieces of the jerk pork. Oh, yes. Hard dough bread. Okay, I've really gone off of on a whole all that food tangent. I must be hungry. But hard dough bread, y'all. Hard dough bread in Jamaica. Go to a bakery. Go to a bakery and get a fresh bread, hard dough bread from the bakery. It will blow your mind. That is a whole level, another level of bread right there. A whole other level. You wanna take some bread home, buy like 3 loaves, because that first one you buy, you're gonna eat the whole thing before you leave. So good. Anyway, damn, this day wouldn't have given me a lot. This day for you, Bob, they would have run away and not given you no opportunities to get in on nothing. Look. So, like, for you, the first 15 minutes, this guy and that guy. So, on the 5 minute, for your setup, they did have a little breakup, right, Ebenar? You know what's up. Yo, things I miss, man. Things I miss. Just being able to eat delicious fruits. Just walking down the street. Oh, that looks nice. Oh, let me get a star fruit. Nom, nom, nom. Right off the side of the road. Just pluck it off of the tree and just eat it. That's life right there. All right. That was my thing. Because I'm not seeing like my setup in here. But for you, Bob, first, oh, I lie. I lie. That's not the first 15-minute candle. This one is. Ha ha. So let's look at your five. So this one's for Bob. That's on the. Oh, sorry. I messed up. I messed up my thing. Ebenar got me, drooling on that deliciousness, and then it's mainly Wolfie's fault asking about pineapples and stuff. It's mm-hmm. So he wouldn't have had a break or within golf and candle enter in 2 minutes. Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you that you should use it because I've been testing it along with my own setup, and it's pretty freaking great. So you would have had a breakout here and a small tiny retest there. So let's look at the 2 minutes because I've been checking it on the 2 minutes too for you, Bob. And on this day, you wouldn't have had the retest unless you consider this little tiny breakout and this push in a retest. I don't think you would though. You needed to leave it and then tap it. So you wouldn't have gotten, unless you just, YOLO'd into that candle right there, which based off of the break retest scenario, probably wouldn't do. For me though, depending on where they're going, so on the 1 hour, let's look at potential areas of interest. So I would be looking, that's too close to entry, so not that one. The low of this or the midpoint. Man, there's not a lot to dig in for this. Like this low would have been a something I would have looked at for, yeah. So let's dig into that again. Yeah, it would have run without you. That's what I'm saying. I've seen a number of those just kind of run off. So like with this low being so close, I wouldn't have gotten an entry in here at all after this run. And then the 2 minutes, this would have been another day where I would have probably not gotten anything. Like I would have liked this drop, and I think maybe I would have been okay with this shift down here. I don't know for sure what the entry would have to be at that little order block there, and then my stop would have to be above that fair value gap, like that. So it would have ended up being a 2 micro trade. Okay, cool. But again, the risk to reward for me wouldn't have been worth it since that low was like right here. So probably wouldn't have gotten it on anything this day. Again, because I think we've had what, like for this week, the Tuesday, the Wednesday, nothing, the Friday, nothing. It's like there's no clean setup on this day, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. So I'm just going to note that in my notes and call it a day on this one. I mean, this would be stepping outside of the setup I'll be using moving forward, so I wouldn't have taken it. But previously, like last year, I might have looked for the rejection off of this 5-minute fair value gap like so, and then hoped I could catch an entry at the base of it, and it still would have run without me with a stop like that, and then it still would have run without me. And that's assuming that the TP that I'm looking for wasn't so close. But it was so close, so I wouldn't have seen the point. So I would just let that go. So just gonna note that. So neither me or Bobby would have gotten a trade that day. Hashtag sad face. This week was kind of a shit show. The week ending in April 18th we would have seen exactly 2 trades. One on the Monday and one on the Wednesday. And the one on the Monday, let's see, based off of the notes, if we would have bothered with it, I think it was a 1 micro trade too. No, actually it would be a 2 micro trade with the 37.25 stop. So yeah, we would have gotten 1 win that week and 1 small like break-even trade. All right, let's nip over. Give me a day in January 2026 to test this out real quick on Thinkorswim. And then we'll close this out, yeah? You guys have any special days? I'm just going to pick a random day to try this out on. And then we'll close out. So maybe 2 weeks into January, you want to try the Tuesday? I'm going to just pick 13th because I'm getting hungry. January 31st. The 31st? You mean the 30th? Okay, let's see if they give us anything on the 30th. Because the 31st is Saturday, bro. So the 30th of this year, let's go up to the 15-minute on this one. Because I think that day was crap, wasn't it? I think Friday was a shit show. So, oh, hold on. I have the wrong contract in. Let me change that. That's the H for this for January. Let's do some auto zooming. And this is at 9:46. So I remember saying this is a shitty day to trade. I remember saying that. And we had a very aggressive drop the day before. What would we be even thinking about? So London's already been destroyed here. I'd have to look at the daily on this one first. So that's the 31st. A little cheating there, but I would have still been sort of bullish before this candle. I would have been bullish before this candle. And then the 4-hour. Oof, the 4-hour is ugly. Yeah. Well, not ugly, but not great. So that's the 4-hour. You sure you want to do this day? Like there's nothing to do this day. And then the 1-hour was the 1-hour and the 4-hour were very bearish. And the previous day was just gross bearish. This is the previous day's close, 3 o'clock. And then this is the AM, previous day. What would we be looking for? Because we're doing this so we can test, see if we can set the order, the entry order. So there was London lows are down here. Yes, please. This day sucks. There's nothing juicy. We got another day we want to try before we close. You want to try like the 14th? I don't know what happened on that. I'm just going to pick a random Wednesday. Let's go. Let's make it the 13th. And let's go to 9:45. Because we ain't got nothing going on there. Because I think my assessment on Friday was if you're green on the week, enjoy it. Don't push. If you're red on the week, same advice. Don't push. Okay, so that's the 5-minute. Let's look at the 1-hour on this day. Oof. Okay, that swept. So that's 8 o'clock. We swept all these equal highs out. Is there anything else if we're bullish? Because it's just been like, oof, just sort of just going sideways this day. And we already took out the midnight open, looks like. So London highs are already done. We dug into this fair value gap down here on the 1-hour. So I'm just going to note it as like a potential area for TP if the session shows us it wants to go lower. We don't know yet because look, right now it's looking pretty bullish, but I'm just going to note it. But then I want to know if there's anything on to the right that we could be using for this. No? Okay. Let's look at the 4-hour for that then. Okay, so on the 4-hour though, we have some juicy equal highs up here. So let's note those. I love a good equal high because they love to be taken out. So that's a pretty good target there. It's so close to the extreme that I'm not going to worry about. So some buy side liquidity here. Show that and make it all nice and blue. I'm also going to note the top of this. Oops. Let's go a little higher right there. I'm also going to note duplicate that. And I'm also going to note the extreme of this candle too as a potential. So 4-hour extreme. So the body of that candle is also a potential. So let's nip back down to the 5-minute and let's see what we're working with. Maybe I picked a shitty day again. So London lows have yet to be taken. They're about right here. So what I want to see on the 5-minute is if we're going to totally respect this fair value gap and push up. This is not a great day either. Jeez, we're just getting hammered with these shitty days. I assume this was news. All right. So some news. So far, we've been respecting the hell out of it, but hanging out right around it. So nothing to do. Nothing to do, which is sad, I think. Very, very sad. So what we do have though is we have one of these sweeping the rest and this one not sweeping it. So I'm waiting for, I'd prefer, I'm gonna cheat a little bit and push this forward to 10 o'clock because we don't have to wait here all day. I got Doctor Who to watch and some brunch to num on. So let's see, let's push it up to 10 o'clock. Oh, come on. So 10 o'clock, we're just sitting around. I'd be okay with them sweeping this low and then shifting up. And then maybe we could go for those equal highs or the 4-hour extreme here. But so far, this is just nothing. I don't like when the New York 10 to 11 time frame is a shit show, which is what this is. All right, we're gonna push forward. It's 11 minutes. Okay, so we would have been waiting. And now London lows are down here. So things I would be looking for. I want them to take this out. And then this is a 1-hour fair value gap. If they tap into it and then run up, we can look for like some kind of shift or something. But the open basically manipulated up, made equal highs, and then just started dropping. And what was the bias for this day? Sorry, did we even check? The bias was still bullish, right, for that day. And the 4-hour. 4-hour was still bullish, if a bit sideways at this section here. So we were looking for some sort of manipulation, and we might get it after 10 o'clock. Right now on the 1-hour, we're dipping into this order block right here. So I'm just going to note that we're dipping into this order block and the fair value gap. So it's okay. Top of bearish OB. It's okay if they do that. If they totally disrespect the heck out of it though, like the whole order block, right, we're looking for the London lows to get taken out. So this is the 1-hour candle. So far, we just drop in. We can see them dipping into this 15-minute order block right here. Big push up. But this is looking pretty bearish so far, at least session-wise. And this is what time? 10:15? Might need to pick another day. Waiting for them to sweep this. Let's push forward a little bit because I want to test this out. Okay, so this swept it. Dug into this is very, very, very aggressive candle here. I don't know. Given the rejection sweep of this, I'm going to see if there's some sort of return back up. Let's push that forward a bit again, another 10 minutes. Because if it kept dropping, then I might not be doing anything with this. So rejection at the halfway point of this 1-hour fair value gap. If we drop below here, then something at the top of this would be where it's at. Let's push this to 10:42 because I don't want to miss it. If we bust above, then we could look for a shift up. All right, so this point looks like we're shifting down. So I don't know if it's worth it to take it down here. It's a big drop already. What time is it? 10:35. So I need to see a shift below here. If not, we have a bearish fair value gap here. I'd love to see them bust above it for longs to reach back up into this fair value gap. So I'm cheating here a little bit. I'm just pushing time forward a few minutes. And then they're just going sideways. Let's look at the 2 minutes. I'm just curious to see if there was any potential like entry opportunity from a 2-minute perspective that we could look at. So from the 2-minute, this would be a shift. They've gotten one. So if we push up, might be able to get something, but these seem it's not a weak shift, but we need a secondary. If I was bearish, then an entry here would have been okay, because this would have been the first shift right here. These two candles shift here, then a shift below here with this candle, then the entry would have been here actually for a short. Let me see if they'll let me even put that in. So if I were to sell it with 2 micros, okay, yeah, it would have let me, and then I would be just at TP. Not bad. Times at 1048. So that would have been on the 2-minute, but I did not trust any of this, and I was bullish on the day, so I wasn't looking for shorts. But that would have paid. Maybe we can get something on this. Let's push this forward to 1055. Well, it does work now, I guess. But only on the live contracts. I can only use them on the live contracts. So this looks better. So we would have, so on the 5-minute, this would look, okay, on the 5-minute, that would look really nice. Disrespected that. I could try, this would be like an entry model number 1, like 2 micros would give me something of a something of a cushion. What's happening? Ah, damn it. Looks like the stream just kind of knocked out. Oh, it just came back. So this would be a more of an aggressive entry, but, you know, just for funsies. If we break above here, I like the tap into the 2-minute fair value gap. We've seen me look at that. Then my entry would be at the body here if we break above here with 2 micros. Okay, that's looking pretty juicy there. See how that candle, like, it needs to break above that though. I like that it tapped it and then ran away. So I wouldn't even bother to try this entry if it actually closes properly. This would be the first shift. This one would be the second and my preferred entry. We didn't get it yet, so. Oh my goodness, I'm not getting enough. YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain a smooth streaming. That's probably my cue to just close this out. So I'm going to do this just for shits and giggles. I don't know if you can even see this. And then let's push this forward a couple minutes, like 3 minutes. And then let's close, because I just wanted to test it. And obviously it works on the higher time frame stuff, but the bit stream, that would have tagged me in right there. Oops, I pushed it too far for it to like actually push me into the trade. Let's see if we pop down one more time to let me in. Okay, cool. So this is not ideal because this didn't pop up. So we can see the open P&L. original entry would be here. I did like this. 2 micros gives me quite a bit of stop to save me from any insanity. And what are we reaching for? Somewhere up in the top there. And let's push forward like 5 minutes because it looks like the stream is acting up. Let's push forward. So that would be my new entry there because we left. All right, I think it's time to go. All right, I think it's time to go. I think it's probably time for me to close. Let's push this forward to 11:15 and see where we are in this trade. So I think maybe it doesn't like that I've been streaming for so long. All right, well, the entry's not bad. I'm crashing the internet. Let's go! All right, so we're just gonna push forward and see how this trade works. So this is my 2 micro stop. If we push in here, I'm gonna move it to just below here stop-wise. I'm just gonna push this forward so I can go eat. And before I crash the internet, since this thing just stop acting right. Okay. So and then this new low would be my setup. So we're gonna push this forward again. 11:27. 11:27. And you know, maybe it's not looking juicy. Did it go forward? I tried to push it forward. Come on. Okay. Oof. That would have come real close to my stop. Oh, I think I've pushed it forward too much. I think it's broken. But my stop hasn't moved. I've been pushing it forward, and it looks like it would be moving along nicely. Oh, it just readjusted. So I'd be up like, so with that wick almost would have taken me out. Look at that. Oh man. Well, my entry is here, so we've been moving up. I mean, I would ignore that wick and just put it below the body right there. Would that be right by my entry? Yeah, I would need to like, we're up like 238 on this, so I would need to lock in a bit more. Probably at the bottom of that. And let's push it forward one more time. Come on, let's see where we end up. Oof, we would be having a nice setup, but that candle was mean. That's why I had to make sure that before I move my stop, I had to my stop just barely saved me. So like I would be adjusting my stop to this low right here, right there. We'd be up like 440. Nice. On 2 micros, that's pretty impressive, right? That's pretty impressive. Let's push this to 11:55 and see if we move a little faster without breaking this too tough. So it's still a good trade. Woo! So I would have gotten the full pull off of this trade right here. If that can just knock me out there, that'd be nice. Because I keep pushing it forward, it has to like catch up with me, I think. And then voila. So as much as I didn't like the initial push up from here, like this, I liked the setup and I couldn't move my stop until it moved away. And this candle would have almost practically slapped me in the face with that stop, but it somehow didn't. It was just enough on 2 micros. If I tried the 3 micro trade, this candle would have absolutely kicked me in the teeth. If I'd left the original entry at the but at the top of this fair value gap, I would have gotten a much better entry and then been tagged out up here beautifully. So, all right, guys. We be over here crashing. We be over here crashing the internet like Wolfie said. Now it's time to go enjoy the rest of the day and eat some yum yum foods. And I'm not gonna look at the charts again today, so but I'll be back next week looking at some potential live trades, but only if it's clear and obvious. And, we'll continue the hindsight back testing until the year is done for 2025. But we will test out some of the setups on the January and February dates with Thinkorswim since we can put the order in and see how it feels because that helps me a ton. Smash burgers! Smash, yeah, yeah. Okay, that's probably not how you make a smash burger. It's probably more like here's the patty and just squish it. But I think it's funnier my way. So, yeah, we just go with that. All right, y'all. It's time for Shakira to eat some food. Eat some food. Dang, you guys get to deal with my insanity like throughout this whole stream. How do you stand it? Like, honestly, it's crazy. All right, y'all. I'm out. Have a lovely day. Be good. Let's have a good trading week. Shakira, out.